everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of BAK BAK, our J Fashion interview series where we ask indie designers about their brands, how they got started, their relationship with J Fashion, that whole kind of thing. Today, I have with me Narcyz from the amazing brand Raspberry Mazohyst. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Is this the time where I introduce myself to the good people of the internet?
Yeah. Give us a brief intro.
Hi, everyone. First of all, we are very sorry for being late. It's my fault entirely. Everything that was supposed to go wrong did, so that's why we are late. But I do hope that some of you could make it, and I hope that we're going to have a good time here today. I'm Narcyz from Raspberry Mazohyst, also known as Instagram user Raspberry Corpse with a frog icon. That will recognize me somewhere on the internet, I guess. I hope that people know me. I hope that they know what I do. If not, I'm a fashion designer. It feels kind of pretentious to say that. I never say that because I kind of think of myself more as a manual laborer. That's what I do. Everything I do with these hands, and that's why I have like all these joint problems with my hands. But I do say that I'm a creative manual laborer. Let's call it that. I make mostly accessories that probably maybe people seen flying around the internet. The cross pieces are probably my most, I don't want to say famous, but most recognized one.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Also do other accessories, whatever the client wants, I can do. And that's it. I hope you will enjoy what we're going to be talking about here, and I can give it back to you now.
Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. If anyone wants to follow Narcyz on his social media, we have, I'll bring it up. Here is the Instagram for his shop, as well as here is the Instagram for his personal stuff, which is really fun. You should go follow him on both accounts for good ass content. Do that now.
Like, you follow me, right? Like, I never post anything really. It's like I have these spurs of posting something, and then I don't post for like 5 months.
Yeah, I think it's really fun for people to, like, besides following brand accounts, to also, like, if there's a separate personal account for those people, like, it's fun because you also get like a little bit of insight on like the behind the scenes kind of thing, and I think that's always a little bit fun for people.
I mean, I'm hoping that people do, especially that the VK stuff, which I guess we're going to talk about later too. That's like super exciting. I want to get into that as well. If there's a VK stuff happening, I'm posting it on my private one because I don't know if people on the store one are like interested in the VK stuff. I think it's a rather small amount of people that maybe know what's going on. So if anything, I am posting about all the VK and J-Rock adjacent stuff on my personal account. So yeah, that's a good reason to like go follow.
Yeah. So we're gonna go into like the basic brand intro questions. So first of all, how did you discover J fashion and Lolita fashion, or any kind of like adjacent fashions?
Oh, that's a good question because we're gonna go kind of backwards. Because I kind of feel like maybe for people it's Lolita first and then something else later. Well, for me, it's because I started listening to VK when I was like 14 maybe. And I discovered, Hide from X Japan, and then Disperse Ray, and then Direngre, and kind of Moi Dis Moi first. I know that might be like a controversial thing, because I didn't know Maris Mizet existed until like later. I discovered Mana when he was doing his newer gig, his Moi gig. And then I discovered Malis Miser. And then when I was kind of getting more into the lore and kind of discovering what is this whole thing about, and also Mana, because Mana is just such a overwhelmingly magnificent figure. If we can rewind back a little bit, when I started listening to VK, I told you this like anecdote.
Yeah.
I was watching YouTube and I was watching, I think, a interview with these pairs, right? And one of them had a skirt on. And me being like a 13-year-old child from Poland, I've never seen a man in a skirt. Like, what is this? Is this like legal? Is like, can you do that? What is this about? It was such a shocker to see a man in a skirt. And that was just the beginning of it, right? Because like you have a whole other extensive world above one man wearing a skirt.
Yeah.
Covering Mana and his whole gig. Well, his whole gig is amazing. He does, modeling for his brand. He's a musician. He's a songwriter. He's a producer. He's a fashion icon of the universe, right?
Yeah.
So that was amazing to like discover this man who like does it all. And he not only wears a skirt, he wears a dress.
Yeah. And heels.
Oh yeah, and like
Like
extreme where I was just like mesmerized by the whole Młody thing, and then I discovered Narcyz, where like Mana I think has more feminine looks most of the time, and that was just magnificent, exquisite, amazing. So upon doing some digging, I discovered that he actually has his fashion brand, and at the time I don't know if people remember because you have to be a little bit older, I guess our age maybe to like remember, but back in the day, Moitié had this like super crusty shop online.
CD Japan.
Yeah, there too, because they had like their own shop that was like totally inaccessible to like Westerners, right? And I remember browsing Moitier's stuff on CD Japan. And, at that point when I was like 14, 15, maybe to me, these prices were like out of, this planet. Like, what are these prices? And I remember browsing these, dresses and seeing that,
crusty D goods.
I mean, yeah, that was so long. Like we've came such a long way, haven't we?
Yeah.
But to answer the question pretty simply, when I discovered Mana and his whole gig, and I discovered that he has a clothing brand and it's called Elegant Gothic Lolita, I was like, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. So, upon doing some Googling, upon doing some research on the internet of like, I don't know, 2005 probably, I discovered this whole sub-fashion of, the Japanese streetwear. Because I have an opinion that VK and Lolita is kind of hip adjacent.
Yeah.
I don't know if like new people think that or not, but like I think that these things are like hip adjacent, right? Because VK takes from like Japanese street fashion, and then Lolita kind of also does that, so they are kind of like hip adjacent. So to me, being introduced to a whole world of amazingness. And the rest is history, and here I am now.
So you discovered all this stuff when you were a little bit younger. At what point were you actually able to like start getting into like wearing it or like buying it as like a accessible fashion for yourself?
A little bit younger. That was like 15 years ago. I know that people gave me like 20 years old. Sometimes when I was on Gazette tour, people were asking me if I'm 20. I mean, listen, if like the good genes are happening, then I'm gonna take. But like it's kind of funny when people think that I'm like way younger than I am. So yeah, for me that was like 15 years ago. That's why I remember like the things being barely anything essentially at that time. But that's a good question in regards to when I was able to actually participate. That like took some time because me being from a conservative Polish household, I don't know that exactly. I mean, my mom was not happy. My mom was not happy with like my interests whatsoever. I think one time she let me dye my hair between school for vacation because he was the first musician that I was like really I don't want to say infatuated with, but like he was like the first musician that I discovered, and his music was really something special. So I wanted to get the iconic pink and black hair. My mom thought that it's like atrocious. She would not let me, and I think I had to like talk to her for 2 consecutive years, busting her ass about this hair. time she let me for like 2 weeks, and she would not like let it go. She said that it's like the worst thing ever, and she doesn't want to like be seen outside with me. And that was just the hair. So I guess I would say maybe in high school when I was like an older teenager, so maybe 16, maybe 17. It's kind of when you get a little bit of independence from your parents, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit. And also I could like, sneak out to school, put some makeup in my bag, and then like do my makeup at school.
Yeah, I feel like that people can relate to that a lot.
Yeah, because I didn't want like my mom seeing how I go out of the house. She would not like that.
Yeah, but personally, I think it's maybe it's like a good thing when there's kind of a gap of time between discovering J fashion and then also like proceeding to wear it, because you have all of that time to like think about like how are you gonna do it, what kind of things do you want to wear, and like really solidify your taste. Which I don't know, I like it's fine for people to jump in immediately. I think that's totally fine, but it does help save on like money. I think like if you already know what you want to buy.
I mean, yeah, I think so. And maybe we like discussed it earlier too at some point that like people, because now everything is on the internet instantly and everything you do is on the internet instantly. We had this like grace period of kind of being awkward and kind of not really, trying to like figure out what's your style and what's your footing in this new interest that you have. Because yeah, like not only, stuff was not available. I mean, to me, again, being from like buttfuck nowhere, Poland, stuff was just not available to you. I remember when I was younger, when someone had a Sexpot t-shirt, that was like a definite import from Germany, and that was like a social status thing back on the internet, because we just did not have stuff. So you've seen all these cool things on the internet. I think that the VK scene also was probably a little bit bigger. I don't know. I kind of feel like a lot of it died out in favor of the K-pop and all that stuff. But because it was a little bit larger and people were like experimenting with like DIY, right, and like doing all these like weird alterations to their clothes and stuff. So it was kind of crusty. It was kind of weird, kind of not really very fashionable. But you were trying something. You were trying
it's
to
creative.
Yeah. So luckily no one. I hope no one has my pictures from like high school when I'm looking for. Because again, like nothing was available and you were young, you were trying to like find your footing in this style. And I think it's good to have a grace period like this. So I also advocate for people to, go find what you're looking for, and you don't have to be perfect, because it's not about being perfect. Expressing yourself and finding what you enjoy in this particular thing. So it's okay to like look weird sometimes, it's fine. It's not a competition.
This comment says putting things in your bag and putting them all on at school is a rite of passage for all teens.
Yes. I gotta say like real quick that the good thing that I can say about like this whole school thing is that I went to a high school that was actually very welcoming towards alternative weirdos. It was next to the music school that I was going to and next to the art school that I was going to as well. So it had a lot of artsy people in there. People had colored hair. People had weird outfits. So it wasn't that weird that you were a weirdo in there. So I think that's a good situation that I had going, that there was this kind of positive expression. Because again, my mom, she would not like have let that slide. So me going to school, it was like a fashion show every day. And I mean, I don't know how I did this to get like at 5 a.m, get all your stuff ready, then like get to school early. Like I'm like old or something now. I don't have like the energy.
I know. I feel that so hard. I like when I was in school, I used to dress in Lolita every single day, like in college for like the last 3 years of college. It was Lolita every single day, and I'd like wear wigs to school for like the entire day. And now I'm just like, I'm tired.
Yeah, like how? Like it's like I wear like a sweater and like a Walmart leggings situation, because like my friends know that I ever like buy house clothing, so sent me packages like sweater, like dollar bin leggings or something to like wear at home, and that's what I wear. You
This
know, like,
comment says, I'm a Mori person, so I don't have it as bad, but my parents despise the layering, which is kind of surprising. There's nothing offensive about Mori. It's not even like, it's just a comfy fashion. What the heck? How could you not like layering?
I mean, I always was like fascinated with all the subgenres of fashion. I mean, Mori Kei is definitely something that I was also attracted to, but in a way, I love fashion. Like I love fashion in general, and I love observing fashion too. And it's just such a nice, just comfy, foresty vibes of like nature and brown and beige. Like, how can your parents not like that? It's is it
Parents, parents are afraid of their children going into nature and touching weeds.
like so like earthy and just
Don't
I
want to
don't
do a weed. Okay. So another question is, how did you learn your craft? How did you start like learning how to make things? When did you start? That kind of thing.
that was kind of the question. Is this the question that I was looking forward to? I don't know, because there's a question in there somewhere about so like maybe I can like combine two.
Yeah.
How did I? Well, because how did I learn it? Well, I just started doing it. That's why I kind of want to combine these two questions, because I think there's gonna be a question about when did I feel ready to start. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. I didn't. I just kind of had to start doing it, because at that point I had a disagreement with like my employer at the
Mhm.
time, and I lost my job. So it was kind of like a now or never situation where either I go and I look for another job and I would be probably consumed with that, or I figured, well, this is something that I kind of want to try and see how that goes. So I just jumped in, both feet forward, and I had to figure it out from there. I don't know if that's like a good thing though. It's not like I'm
Mhm.
recommending putting everything on the line, although I gotta say that it's like very motivating, because you just gotta make it work somehow, you
Mhm.
know. So I just learned it as I went along, I guess. Although that's not entirely honest either, because I'm a very creative person and I was always
Mhm.
into various DIY stuff. Again,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's a trait that millennials have, because we didn't have the hot topics and the availability of modern, fast alternative fashion.
Mhm.
We had to do stuff ourselves, and that was kind of difficult, but also kind of crafty. You gotta, you had to make with what's due. You got some kind of clothes from like I don't know H&M or something, and you just kind of you
Yeah.
had to make something out of them.
Yeah.
So the DIY aspect, I think it's a very familiar thing for like a lot of millennials who are like also alternative.
Mhm.
So because I like doing stuff like that, I really, really love the creative aspect of it. And I didn't like my job at that point, which in hindsight I have different thoughts about my job now than I had back then. Because now I'm working this job, and now now it's like, whoa, little did I know about like this whole thing. Jesus.
Yeah.
So I
Did you
have
want to have no work-life balance?
hmm Yeah. Did you want to have like no boundaries and like tie your sense of self to like your productivity 24/7?
Start your own
It,
brand.
for real. So I mean, it's something that I started because I guess it was kind of like a now or never situation, and I needed money. I mean, honestly, you gotta make that coin. You gotta pay your landlord who like increases your rent all the time and is a pain in the ass
Yeah.
in general.
Gotta feed your dog.
Yeah, he's like sleeping on there, by the way.
Oh.
So he's like a guest of honor, but like I don't know if you can see him because he's also dark and my bed is also dark, but he's like sleeping.
Yeah. Oh, well, he just moved.
He did, because like here's the I think oh here's the paw. Here's the paw.
Yeah, he just like went like.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like disturbing my dog.
Oh, little
Yeah.
Pete. Little Pete.
I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of got lost in this whole thing. How did I learn it? As I went along,
Yeah.
honestly. Of course, you kind of
Um.
gotta know what you're doing at a little bit at least. It's not like I never done anything like this.
Right.
But I just started and I was very, very, very dedicated to like making this work because I had no other sense of no other source of income at that point.
Yeah. How did you end up kind of like deciding on like latex accessories as your medium? Like, did you have experience doing that before, or did you like all of a sudden were you like, I gotta make this work, and this is what I want to do, and like I'm gonna learn how to do it right now?
Oh, that's a good question. My spicy kill store cup that I got for Christmas. I don't know. Jesus Christ. That's a good question because I think that people who don't entirely know about early VK, like maybe early 2000s, have the assumption that I have some kind of connection with like a sex dungeon or something.
You secretly run a sex dungeon.
I mean, like
with what time?
Just us and all the people that are like here live. I think I do have a client who runs a sex dungeon. I think, but I don't know because like
good for them. Good for them.
I mean, I kind of make the assumption by like, our interactions and like what he orders and stuff, and I kind of feel like there's a sex dungeon operation situation going on. But I'm not affiliated with any sex dungeon. Supposed to? I don't know. Maybe not really. Listen, but the fact that I work with PVC is mostly due to the fact that I just find it aesthetically pleasing. I ingested a lot of early VK when I started being into this whole thing, and the early VK has a lot of very fetish aesthetics, a lot of PVC, a lot of a lot of shiny glossy fabrics, a lot of very heavy makeup, big boots, and not even like the very obscure artists. Like I cite Rionai from Blam Honey sometimes as like one of my inspirations. He would always do these like very PVC heavy, also kind of like Victorian goth industrial mix. Amazing, exquisite, just like 10 out of 10. But also did great. A lot of this kind of styling in the early, I'm sorry, in the early 2000s, with like Toshiya having his whole corset situation, or like Daisuke having this cat suit with like the half mask and the big red hair. That's something that I would love to like recreate at some point. Exquisite outfit, head to toe PVC with like this big of like platform. So that was something that I just saw and I found super appealing because I think of myself as a spicy person. And so this spiciness, I guess, in a certain fashion choice reflects a part of my character. Because that's what I think about fashion, right? It's kind of a very personal way of like telling the world who you are, at least to an extent. So that's kind of where
I mean, yeah, even if you look at like early Lolita, you see more influence of like using like faux leather PVC. Not even just Meta. I know a lot of people like talk about how Meta made like the pleather dresses, or like the they also have that PVC one that's got like the buckles in the front, and that one's really cool. But I've seen other brands do like pleather looks. I think I found one that was like a Victorian maiden one. It straight up like kind of looks like a trash bag, but they did it.
I mean, I'm all for it because I kind of miss this like street fashion-y experimentation thing in Lolita. I mean, maybe not anymore. Maybe people are trying to be more experimental. Wow, English. Maybe people are trying to incorporate more things into Lolita now. I would like there to be more stuff. I would love there to like be more PVC stuff. I would love there to be more pleather stuff. I think we are thinking of the same one, the famous Mana dress from the Magnifique book. That's that's such a good look, because it's like both spicy and elegant and kind of romantic, but it has like an edge to it. That's essentially my design aesthetic. It's supposed to be edgy, romantic, spicy, but also kind of elegant. So that's kind of going back to the like not like people not really wanting to do stuff that they think is like, I guess, like associated with anything like sexting or like fetish thing. I think it's more of a reaction to like Lolitas themselves, like in the West, being sexualized.
and they're like, oh no, we don't want anything, we don't want any of that. So they're like, I don't, like they try to cut off the connection to like these earlier images. But it's not as like, just because someone else like is trying to see you in a certain way doesn't mean you can't do it, like.
I mean, that's a very interesting point. I wasn't considering that point, must be honest. Because like the way I think about fashion is how fashion takes all these things and incorporates these things into some kind of a mass consciousness of the fashion world. Like Vivienne Westwood, which is like one of my favorite brands, she kind of takes from like the 70s punk London scene, and then it kind of permeates through her designing style as a fashion designer. And it's like, right now, plaid pants are just something that people wear, and they're not entirely, they're kind of devoid from like their original kind of point of origin, if I can say so. So I would like people to just like see things maybe in more of that sort of way, that sometimes we take stuff and we incorporate them and we kind of give them like a new spin. I mean, that's kind of what creativity in fashion is all about. You take something that was there and you make it into something new. I know it probably is a very knee-jerk reaction to kind of try to combat some kind of a misguided opinion maybe, but I also would like for people to not, allow some kind of change, some kind of diversity of thought, diversity of style. We evolve, we change, fashion changes and fashion evolves. And I think that, incorporation of new stuff makes it exciting.
Yeah. Let's see. We kind of combined the questions about how did you start your brand. So, what are some differences between when you started your brand at the very beginning and how you operate now? Like, do you do anything different? What have you learned that is like, you've done differently?
Oh boy. That's a loaded question. I mean, when I started this, again, this is maybe not a very glamorous story, because I see on TikTok now, because, I'm on TikTok because of business reasons, whatever.
You gotta be, yeah.
People like the ASMRs of me doing stuff. I don't know, and it's just something that people like, I guess. But I'm seeing a lot of this type of sentiments on the small business TikTok, being kind of like, I launched my small business and it went viral and I had 10,000 orders and all that stuff. Like very kind of super glamorous, amazing success stories. But I think that it's I don't want to say intellectually dishonest, because if that's the experience of the person who went viral with their business, that's their experience. But I don't know that it's a good selling point when we want to talk about starting a small business or starting any sort of business or any sort of creative venture, especially if it is a creative venture, because it portrays it in a way that's all good and not necessarily anything that brings hardship.
Yeah.
And it does bring.
Also, another thing is like, it sounds very overwhelming. Like, I don't know anyone who's gotten sudden surge of business who's been like, oh yeah, I can totally deal with that. Like, with what resources?
Yeah, no, it's if you don't have the infrastructure and the overall capacity to produce such an amount of whatever you're producing, it's just going to be a very hard time. People are not going to be.
Yeah.
So kind of continuing with your question, I guess, because I deviated, I'm very sorry.
No, you're fine.
Because my point kind of is that when you start this, I don't think that you realize all the things that you will have to sacrifice along the way to kind of make it work. And maybe that's also a problem that I have with all these stories about all you need to start a small business is a laptop and a dream and just like a floor in your apartment.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is an honest way of speaking about this. I think that, you know, you need to be more honest with people. Also about the bad things, about the creative burnout, the burnout in general, how you sacrifice your entire free time for this. You have no separation between personal and professional. It's very hard to do. Like, I'm still working on this, and I've been like years deep into this, and that's still hard. Your job is your 24/7. Boundaries. People don't have boundaries. They don't respect your boundaries. So you need to set boundaries and you need to keep them. Keeping them boundaries also hard. There's a lot of things that's very difficult about doing such a thing, especially that you're monetizing your creativity.
Yeah.
And, you know, creativity is something very personal, right? It's kind of very intimate because you do something and it comes from you. But people judge you on the performance of your creativity all the time. So it is kind of inherently tied to you as a person. And it's a slippery slope for you to start treating it as a, you kind of tie your own personal value to your performance with your job. So, you know, it's not just like being artsy in your small atelier or something and, you know, just kind of taking very moody pictures for the Instagram.
Yeah.
Not only hard work, but also it's like soul drenching a little bit if you have to be the performance of your creativity all the time. And you are. So you either have to be very confident in your skill or I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
It's just really hard. So definitely throughout the years, what I had to learn is definitely boundaries, which again, I'm still working on this. People still are making it very hard to keep the boundaries. I actually had a massive burnout. I think my dog is like, I had a massive burn in December, actually. I mean, it was like a cumulative thing where I think I was progressively more and more, um, I don't want to say unhappy, but just like displeased with this job and the difficulties that it poses because it does pose a lot of personal difficulties, especially that again it's a creative job, so you are constantly judged on a personal performance of your creativity and people are having opinions about it all the time.
Yeah.
But also you can't just clock out because I am my job and my job is me. Of course, not the totality of me, but I literally am what I produce. Like what I produce is some kind of a testament to like me as a person. It's a summation of me of some sort. So I can't exactly clock out. Uh, I can't exactly say now I'm not at work anymore, and this doesn't concern me like it was in my previous job. I had a job I clocked out at 5, and that was not my problem anymore. Um, that's never a thing here.
Yeah.
That's
Although if
a
it
thing.
helps, if it helps, sometimes I hear Haley whenever she's like at home and something happens, she's just like, "Well, I just work here."
I mean, same. I'm trying to do that now, and then
Yeah.
for
Ma'am, I
years,
am just an employee.
I mean, you just sometimes you just have to, I don't know, like distance yourself from this, but also takes time to be able to look at all the emails and the people demanding your attention, and you will just say that's none of my problem right now
Yeah.
because I don't know Friday on a I don't know it's 8 p.m. on a Friday and that's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's a
Yeah, you
hard
gotta
thing.
have hours.
I'm trying to implement like weekends or something that like if you need me and I'm not working now, you have to wait for me to get back to you because I do have other things to do.
Mhm.
Again, it's not only my job to reply to emails 24/7.
Yeah.
But it's hard. It's hard because people also will like guilt trip you that you're not doing your job correctly because you're not tending to them instantly or only to them. It's hard.
So
It's
these
super.
people work at their jobs 24/7 also, right? Asking for a friend.
I mean, I think I posted something one time about how people will post memes about how, you know, memes about their managers calling them into work on a Saturday with some kind of like a spicy comeback, but like then I get emailed on a Saturday, 4 a.m. on a Saturday or something, a customer like demanding something instantly. But I have so much stuff to like worry about, man. Like, just one thing. It's not just one customer.
Yeah.
So it's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been kind of rough. What I'm doing differently now, I mean, definitely it's a learning process. It's a learning curve. And I gotta say, that might be kind of discouraging a little bit, but I already kind of had very, very extensive knowledge on how to run a business because I was working at a private company. But private companies kind of have this gig where, because they're private, they don't really want to hire a lot of people to do the job or the jobs. So I got hired as a... Why are you doing this?
What's he doing?
He's going away.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, hi.
We have a guest
Such
of
a
honor.
sweetheart.
I'm very sorry. Yeah. Okay, cool. Super cool.
Oh. I love him.
I'm sorry. He thinks he's made out of glass. I got a paw.
Oh gosh. Emily Dogs wants to also have a little kiss. My turn, please.
I'm sorry. Okay, good. I think he's gonna sit down at some point. I don't know. I'm very sorry.
Takes time.
What do you want? Okay.
He's figuring it out. Yeah, he did it.
Okay. We had a guest. You want it to be a guest? Okay. I think we're good now. Are we good now?
Oh.
Okay, I think we're good now. I think so. I don't know. Are we good now? Okay. We had a guest of honor. Now I'm like covered in dog, but that's just a thing that happens.
It's just what it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just how it is in this house. I'm very sorry. He's a big dogger. You're a big dogger? Okay, cool. Well, he's gonna have to like move out of the way because like we don't have forever to like wait for him. Okay. Okay. Yes, we good now? Okay. Where did we end up?
You were talking about working at a private company.
Oh yeah, because that's kind of something that I wanted to like squeeze into this conversation a little bit. When I was working at a private company, I was hired as a product and marketing specialist, which sounds fancy, but like if you work at a private company, they kind of make you do everything there is to be done because they only hire so much people or like not enough people. So although my main job was to worry about products and marketing, as the title suggests, I was doing everything from like floor sweeping to customer service to wholesale to packing packages to working at a warehouse. Whatever there was to be done, it had to be done. So I already knew a lot of stuff about running this sort of predicament, especially that we had a stationery store and an online store. So you had customers coming both in person, which like, what kind of an idea that is? I mean, never mind, but like what kind of an idea that is? It's like you're busy with like, online stuff, online customer stuff, and then people still come in from like the outside and they like demand your attention where you're like busy with like doing something else. Jesus. But because of that, I was doing a lot of things and I had a lot of experience in doing all these things. And yet still, that did not prepare me for a lot of things in this job. So I know
Mm,
that's kind of maybe a little bit demotivating. I always suggest people to like go get a business course or something
yeah.
if you really wanna run a business. But even that like didn't prepare me for like the personal difficulties of this job. So there's a lot, and I think you have to figure it out when you get there, because otherwise you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know a lot.
Yeah. Let's see. So when you design a product or you design a collection, what's your process like? How do you start something? How do you like come up with an idea and then like implement it from start to finish? Like what's all that all like?
That's an interesting question. Interesting question. Um, People ask me a lot of the time, what's the design process, and I just say, well, stuff just kind of happens in my head. I know it's not very. Again, this is like another thing that's not very. I don't know, not very aesthetically appealing, maybe because I do. When I think about designing in my head, I myself have these pictures that are like Instagram ready from your like atelier. You have like a mood board and like a sketchbook, and it's like all nice and tidy. I never did any of that. I don't sketch like ever. Very rarely. I did sketch once recently, just for the purpose of a video, so people know what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and that just felt so unnatural.
Yeah.
Because I just don't do that. When I'm talking to people about maybe doing a custom item, I describe,
Was it for Emma? She's making a
yeah,
face.
yeah, and I didn't sketch either. I was just like, listen, I think we can do this, and I have this like idea for this, and I'm just gonna show you when I finish, or like when it's like halfway done or something. Because I always kind of think that the end product is not going to be the same as a 2D representation of that product. Maybe I'm just not that good of a sketcher. I don't know. Like maybe that's like on me or something. But I like to kind of take the material or the materials and take the idea and see where it takes me. Because stuff behaves differently in physical
Mhm.
life, obviously. You can't exactly anticipate all of how the material is going to be behaving or what is it going to require when you're sketching. Um, Especially when it's a very complex item. Um, that's a good example. I found out about it quite recently. Apparently, if you can imagine very abstract, very complex things, there's a thing called hyperphantasia. If I
Mhm.
tell you to imagine an apple, but it's actually star shaped, but it's actually green, but it's actually
Mhm.
shooting across the sky. And if you
Mhm.
can imagine a green apple, star shaped, shooting across the sky in your brain perfectly, and it's a complete image, apparently that's a thing, and apparently there's a name for it.
Mhm.
What are you doing? Uh, and that's kind of how stuff works in my brain all the time. I just see stuff. And the moment I see something in my brain, I need to somehow. I usually note it down. I'm like, oh, I have this idea for this and that, because I have a lot of ideas circling around in my head, and I never really get to most of them. Uh,
Yeah.
um, it usually starts from, I don't know, something very simple, and it just manifests itself. And again, I know that it's kind of anticlimactic. It's not exactly particularly appealing. I feel to just say, well, I just kind of see stuff in my brain and that's it. Like
Mhm.
there's no like rhyme or reason or like method to it. It just appears. I don't know. It just pops in and that's it.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like
I definitely feel like different people have different processes, and for some people, it's like mood boarding. For some people, it's
yeah,
sketching. For other, I sounds like for you, a lot of it has to do with like working with the physical object, right? Like it's just different for everybody.
that's true. Although I do feel again that it's kind of anticlimactic to just say, well, I just kind of see stuff and that's it, and I just imagined a product and I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
It's artsy, I think. It's kind of seems
Well,
kind of mundane.
well, whatever works for you. It's like,
Yeah. I mean, whatever works for my customers, really, because like if I'm doing a piece like a belt for Emma, I didn't want to sketch something for her that later I would decide that, well, that's actually not going to work. So I just took the thing and I did the thing, and then showed Emma what is the thing, and she loved the thing. So that was
mhm,
a good choice of method.
yeah, yeah. She says art be like that sometimes. It do.
Yeah, I did.
It do.
That's true.
And yeah, like kind of on the flip side, I do find that something about people who maybe are good at sketching and drawing, but maybe like have not to be like super shady or anything, but like if someone's good at like drawing, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will also be good at making a three-dimensional object, right? Like
That's a
you
good.
you think about design a lot and you think about like people drawing like sketches and people like making a cool picture, but just because you can make a cool picture doesn't mean you know how construction works or how the materials work. Like in order to be a designer, you do have to be able to implement the idea, and if you don't know how to do that, that's kind of like a moot point, right? Then you're just an illustrator, which is fine. I mean, drawings are beautiful, but
Yeah.
like there's a difference.
Mhm. I think that's a very good point. I really never thought about it before. Because again, my job is not to, draw for people. My job is to make stuff for people and to know how to
Hmm.
make stuff. So I really believe that where the strength is that I can see the product, but I already see it in a way that I know how it's supposed to be made. So I can explain to the customer that there's certain things you have to look out for, and I think that's rooted in if you're competent in your medium, then you know what to expect from your medium, and you kind of know how to work with the medium. So to me, a 2D drawing is not exactly a good representation of the medium because it is a 3D medium. So I'm just rather like writing emails this long, explaining kind of what we're doing, and then I say,
Hmm.
okay, so that's kind of how I see it. That's kind of how I see it be done, and then I'm gonna send you some shots from the middle of the process to see how it's like physically coming
Yeah.
together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So kind of like you kind of mentioned this before, but we do have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas for collections or items that you haven't been able to fulfill, and what are reasons that you haven't been able to do it?
I do, and time.
Yeah.
Because for me, and I never really say this because it feels like a weird flex in the sense that maybe someone would take it wrong, but I never have a creative block. If you told me to make up like 50 ideas, I would just sit down, I would be like this, and I can
Yeah.
like, because they have all these things here and they're like waiting to be extracted, but I just don't have the time.
Hmm.
Not only this is a job where like you do everything yourself, so I know that it's probably not ideal for people to have to wait for me right now to reply to them because it's been a super hectic month.
Hmm.
And I always have 120 emails waiting on me, and I do feel bad about it. But it's like replying to emails takes like several hours.
It's
But
like
then
one person's job. Like
yeah,
emails are like it's just like a single job by itself.
yeah, it's like there's people dedicated in like companies to like reply to emails, and it's just me here. And I
Yeah.
also have to do, all the other stuff associated with this. And because it's a physical job, that's why I kind of call myself a manual laborer, maybe like a skilled manual laborer. It
Mhm.
is a physical job. Like your hands are, a physical tool that you use, and they get worn out at some point.
Mhm.
Your back starts being bad at some point too. So there's only a limited amount of physical hours you can actually work in a day before you start feeling really crusty, to put it like
Mhm.
that. And there's always something to do. Again, like this year entirely super hectic. 2020 just bad in general, because
You don't say.
it's like a new reality for a lot of people, for me too, because I had to like
Yeah.
adjust my life plans and kind of figure out what do I want to do, what's my long-term plan, and I have to account for this thing now. And I had this like whole burnout going on. I just don't like my job. I don't like doing this. I felt very devalued in my job as well at some point, because
Mhm.
it is creative and it's personal, but to a lot of people, I think to most people, you're just an item dispensary.
Yeah.
um, People give you money and people expect stuff from you, and that's it. But it's like I'm a whole person with like interests and a story, and this whole thing means something to me. But a lot of people are not interested in the story; they're just here for the item. Which, I mean, fair. Like, I sell my skill, so that's kind of how it
Mhm.
is. But it does get soul sucking at some point, and kind of taxing, to just kind of be on the receiving end of nothing, just consumerism, just like making stuff for people to consume. And then, also in the social media market, you know how that goes. Constant kind of being bombarded with work for free. I'm going to take some pictures on my Instagram, and that's
Mhm.
how much I value what you do. It gets really tiring. One message, two messages, 5, 10, 15, okay. But then it's like 50 messages. But
Yeah.
then it's like 100 emails, and you talk to people who clearly don't see you as valuable, or they don't see your skill as valuable, and you're kind of wondering, well, so what am I doing? Like, does this like even mean anything? Because it means to me, but
Mhm.
if you feel like it doesn't really have a meaning to people that interact with you, I think it starts to like seep very deep in, and you start to like internalize all these feelings. So I had a problem with this in like 2020, but that was like a buildup of a lot of issues that were just kind of there already. So you have to have the mental capacity to like do new items, the physical capacity,
Yeah.
uh, time, which like I've been trying to like make something new for a long time now. This is like the first opportunity that I have in a long time to like do something. Also inspired by Emma's belt. Like, shout out to Emma for like giving me this like super cool idea and enabling me in this whole. Because again, I wanted to do like this carve out thing for a super long time. I was thinking, oh, so like maybe you could do this. I've never like got around to it, just like never.
Mhm.
Because of these reasons, I don't have time, rarely ever, and it's kind of my fault too. I'm learning to have better. I don't want to say better time management, but sometimes it's like if people are harassing you on the email, they can wait. But I have
Yeah.
like other stuff to do, and I can't be pulled away constantly by everyone. So I'm trying to like be better at that.
Yeah. Like compartmentalize.
Yeah, it's a work in progress though.
Mhm.
Although I gotta say that I wish I could actually do an actual collection, not just some items, uh, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, I would love to have a concept from start to finish, and a very strong idea, and a whole collection of maybe like 20 items, and a
Mhm.
whole story behind it, and be this have this very grand project. But that requires time. Uh,
Yeah.
and another thing is that if this is your entire job, then this is your only source of income. And if I'm not working because I'm being artsy for like 2-3 weeks, and who's going to pay me, and who's going to pay my rent?
Yeah.
um, So, these are kind of the struggles that I always encounter with doing new items. I do hope that maybe with the structural changes that I made and the personal changes that I made, maybe it's gonna get better. I don't know.
I hope so. Yeah.
Hope
Like
so.
it sounds like you're coming back from it. So I'm, hopeful that it will work out for you.
I hope so, because it was pretty miserable. It was pretty bad at some point. I think in December, I said to a couple of people that I'm just gonna quit this thing and I'm gonna become a waiter or something. um, Pretty bad. But honestly, it is a very hard job, and you have so many responsibilities that differ from like level to level. Like I have these very
Mhm.
base level stuff to do, like emails, but also very like high level responsibilities as well. And it's everything at the
Mhm.
same time, all the time, 24/7. And sometimes I do fantasize about having a simple job, just a simple job that's simple, like being a
Yeah.
waiter, and that's it. Because it's like, you work this and you still work like retail and you still have kind of the shittiness, which again, I don't want to like sound ungrateful, but the more exposure you get, the more people kind of come to you, and maybe these people don't really know you, maybe they don't care to know you, and they just want a product.
Yeah.
So customer interactions are going to be different, and sometimes they will be difficult. So you do kind of have the shitty aspect of working customer service and retail, but you also got everything else. And I'm like,
Yeah.
could I just maybe just like be a waiter and just deal with serving people stuff and having them yell at me because like their soup is bad or something? Like I don't know, like it's just exhausting sometimes.
Yeah. And like, just to put this out here, obviously I've dealt with you on like professional level in terms of like being a customer of yours, but also in terms of like, you doing releases for events. And you are very good at that aspect. You are good at being on time, being communicative, being professional. So it's, you are good at it, but also like it is good to put up boundaries in terms of like when you are going to respond to things. So it's not like you're not doing it, but you clearly are. But also, like it is at some point you have to think of it as like this is just a job. At least that part.
That is true. And I mean, I'm happy you say that I'm like good and I'm on time because I wasn't on time today.
Yeah, but like that's. I feel like I would also have trouble with. I feel like I'm late to a lot of stuff, and that's just how it is.
I mean, it is
Like,
a very hectic time. I mean, you know how like Haley rolls probably. She like
mhm.
mails me at like weird the night sometimes,
Oh
and I
yeah,
mail her back 3 in the morning or something because there's
it's
a
like
lot of
both. It's 3 a.m. for like both of you, but at different times.
yeah. So it's just very hectic for me as well, super hectic. So I'm trying to just make everything happen. Some things just fall through the cracks, but I'm still trying
Mhm.
my best. Thank
Yeah,
you. I'm very to hear that I am good at something.
yeah, yeah.
I
Because I
do think.
think. Mhm.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, because I think like one thing is like as a business, it's understandable to like have to it's like understandable if there are some things that people struggle with as a small business, and like a lot of people are willing to be understanding about it, like especially I think in the JCAP fashion community. I feel like particularly we are supportive of small businesses, that where people are given a lot of allowances, but at the same time, like at the end of the day, people still need to get their shit done, like regardless of what's going on behind the scene, like you still have to do the thing. And I feel like that's the way you operate, right? You're like, oh man, like everything's like difficult, but I'm still going to finish the like my thing, right?
Yeah, because I also think that it's kind of a character thing. That's why I really don't think that we should be telling everyone under the sun that having a 9 to 5 is like the worst thing ever to happen to you. Because I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Again, different views now that I had before when I was working in 9 to 5. Of course, I was thinking that it's like the worst thing ever. But honestly, my 9 to 5 job gave me stability, financial stability, and stability of time. I have a fixed schedule. I clock in at 9, I finish at 5, and then nothing is anymore. Also, a weird thing for me to say because I'm an introvert. I know I talk a lot, and that like dupes people. Am. I think people confuse shyness with like introversion. I don't think I'm shy. I can do very well in like social situations, but I don't exactly enjoy it. Anyways, missing from like a 9 to 5 job for me is socialization.
Yeah.
Because I sit in the house all day, every day for like forever. And it's just me and my dog, which like I love my dog and he's like the love of my life. But you do kind of miss talking to someone sometimes in real life. I go to the grocery store and I talk to the cashier lady maybe. That's like my social. It's pretty poor. And honestly, I did hear, which was funny to me when during, I mean, funny in a tragic way, when I was listening to, I'm sorry, when I was listening to people during the pandemic, saying how it's so hard to like be at home and work at home and talk to see no one. I was like, well, that's like my life, literally.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally my life. No separation from work and home, because you do live and work in the same space. You don't talk to anyone really because you're busy. Also, you work alone, so you don't talk to anyone. You don't have coworkers. You just kind of sit at your house and you're like sick of it at some point. So I really think that I'm a very industrious person. I like to work, which that's a weird quality. I don't know. I just like being productive. I know this can like snowball into pathological.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. Sometimes that was my problem some time ago. That I used to get anxious when I was not working because I could not sit in one place and just do nothing. Like, what do you mean I'm just like doing nothing? I have to do something.
Yeah.
Because I am a very industrious, very productive person. But now I learned how to chill and not do anything. But I still like to be on top of whatever it is that I need to do. Because again, I think of myself as a very industrious person who likes to work and likes to get stuff done. And I just get a lot of satisfaction from seeing stuff be done. So, whatever is happening, I'm going to get it done.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whole, like, you cannot tie your productivity to your own self-worth kind of thing, but also at the same time, if you get fulfillment out of productivity, then it's something that you should be doing just for like your own self-satisfaction, but not because it like makes you feel like more, like it shouldn't be like everything I do is like tied to this, right?
Yeah,
like kind of two sides.
The line is very thin. The line is like super thin, and you kind of gotta figure it out as you do it, I guess. But that's what took me such a long time. Again, because I am a person who likes to work. But then, what's the situation if I place all my value in my ability to work all the time? Well, I know what happened because I had to go to like physiotherapy for like my hands because I couldn't. And like I had pain from my hand joints permeating through my hand to my elbow. That's not a good thing. I don't think you should be having like hand pain that's like feelable in your elbow. Not a good thing. But that was from getting mechanical damage from working. And I guess I got kind of like a scared situation. I got a scare in my physiotherapist office because he said that if I will continue this way, I will have to get this surgically fixed because if my nerves keep up swelling and they will be inflamed, they will like grow into the muscle, and then that's super painful, and you need to separate that surgically. But hand surgeries are mostly not entirely super good. So he said if you will get to the point that you will have to get this fixed surgically, you will have the same dexterity in your hand anymore. So I was like, super like shook.
Yeah, yeah, that's like the worst thing that can happen to someone who works extensively with their hands.
Yeah, because my hands are my tools.
Mhm.
So I kind of had a come to Jesus moment at that point that this is not a good situation.
Mhm. Okay, we're gonna move on to that was like a lot of intro. There was like intro questions, but it lasted like a long time. But we're gonna move on to the in-depth questions. I feel like we've been
Yeah,
going in depth this whole time. We're fine.
yeah.
Let's see. What are some differences between running a business out of Poland, where you live, versus other countries? What are experiences that are unique to where you live, particularly?
I thought about that one. Um, I thought about that one like on like multiple occasions actually, not even related to like us talking today, um, because I do see other ventures happen in different places, and I do think that ventures that are placed in, let's say, strategic parts of the world where there's a scene that's responsive to whatever is going on, they
Mhm.
take off better. Um, I do believe that a large disadvantage to like me being here is me being here because there's just nothing going on. We don't have a very strong alternative scene. It's kind of so. Like, yeah, I know that like Behemoth, I guess, is from Poland, which like, okay, cool, one band. Uh, yes, we do have some kind of a alternative scene, some kind of, but it's really nothing compared to how it is in the West. I don't really have domestic customers. Also, because the pricing is not
Mhm.
appropriate for people here. In the West, the pay levels look differently. Um, and I'm like thinking about something. I guess what I'm thinking about is that, for an example, the minimal pay in Germany is 4 times higher than it is in Poland. So if I price my items in dollars because I pay for hardware also in U.S. dollars, it doesn't make sense for me to price them in a different currency. Also, again, my majority of my customers are overseas in the
Yeah.
United States, so they are kind of prices that are catered to that audience. But I don't have this audience here because the scene is not really that vibrant. It's kind of not really. It's very hard in here. It's kind of dry, especially here where I live. I mean, like the north. Maybe if I was to move to the capital, something more would be going on. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe do feel like maybe something's going down there, but I don't like the capital city of Poland. I think it's kind of ugly, and like I'm sorry, like some
Yeah.
people might like offended because I say that Warszawa is ugly, but I think it's ugly because I'm from Gdańsk. Gdańsk is a 1,000-year-old city, which is like beautiful and old. I mean, it's kind of dirty because Poland doesn't have like money to like clean it up, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And I grew up with all this like old architecture and stuff up in the city. Um, Anyway, there isn't an accurate scene, I think, an
Mhm.
appropriate scene here. I think if I was based out of United States, there would be more possibilities and more opportunities to be engaged in this
Yeah.
scene. Because again, like there's nothing here, and there's no one here who maybe would like to engage with me in something. There's no fashion shows really happening here. I don't see here being like a vibrant collective of artists and other designers and just like alternative people who maybe might like to make something together. I do I
Mhm.
do see all these things happening in other places, right? It's somewhere in the West, but like I'm not in the West, so like I can't really get myself involved in a lot of things
Mhm.
because of how I'm geographically positioned here, and it kind of makes things a little bit tougher because sometimes I do wish that I was involved in something. I mean, I would love to be involved, really. and do something creative with some with other people who are also creatives. But that's just hard if you're not placed in these places where things are going on. Because I do, again, see all this stuff happening, and it's usually local people, local businesses, local designers, local people that are being involved. I mean, it makes sense because, you know, it's, I think it's logistically just easier to get local people involved in a creative venture, like a fashion show or a photo shoot. Well, I'm all the way here, so I don't get to be like really involved in anything, which that's kind of lame. So thank you
Yeah.
to you for allowing me to be involved in something like once in my life.
Well, that's the thing about like, at least now that we have like some things online, it's like, you know, we can do this over like video chat, or you can like release a collection at the same time as a bunch of other people, and it's like a group kind of thing, right? It's like, you know, at least we have the internet.
I mean, I guess so. I mean, you could say that about a lot of things, I guess, but
Mhm.
I still think that there's a preference of working with people that are closer to you. And I mean, I understand that. Yet again, I do get it. You know, you want people to like be close proximity or maybe show up to a location. I get that, but I can't do that.
Right.
And that's kind of
Um,
like,
so you've talked a little bit about like if there is a community where you are, or like what the scene is like. Do you know if um like there is any kind of community? Is it just small? Do you communicate with any other creators that are in your area at all?
I don't want to catch like shit for this. I don't wanna I don't wanna say something that's gonna get me in like hot water. Um,
You
I
don't
mean
have, you can answer as much as you're comfortable with.
it's not like I have like spicy opinions, but I kind of feel like it's always been a thing where I'm not entirely integrated with the community in Poland for like whatever reason. I do often wonder if it's because I just don't market myself towards my fellow countrymen, or maybe I don't interact with them, but also no one really interacts with me. So I do wonder, is this like a personal thing that I'm not a very personable person? Maybe people don't like me. I don't know. Spicy opinion. Was wondering about that at some point, because also I was kind of when I was writing a post for my Patreon way long time ago, I was kind of discussing the importance of personality in business, because yes, you run a business in a sense of like numbers, items, sales, whatever, all these things, but I kind of feel like being a creative online, people also look for a personality to like, and people also
Mhm.
look for a person that they like to support and to relate to.
Yeah.
I think that's my weak point, because again, I don't like to na zdrowie, my dog sneezed. I don't like to put my ass on the internet, so to speak. And I'm just very comfortable not being very public. That's just not something that I like.
Mhm.
Um, in my in my ideal puristic world, where we only go by like artistic purism, which doesn't exist because we don't live in a world like this. But
Mhm.
in my ideal world, effects of my work would be enough for people to decide if they want to support me or not. And if my work is good, then I think it should find adequate audience. But that's not how it is. That's not how it is. Like, that is just not how it is. You know, people like who they like, and people do like who they like because of personal reasons. I do see creators who build their entire brands on their personalities, and they're like very likable, very relatable, very extroverted people. But that's just not me. And I
Mhm.
kind of feel like maybe that's a disadvantage too.
Mhm.
Um, Especially if you are an introverted person who has to run a business on the internet, and you don't really
Yeah.
like talking to people on the internet that much.
Yeah. Although,
So
like on the flip
I
side, you know, not tying yourself so much, like not tying your personal life so much to your brand is also kind of advantageous in that, like, at least there's that degree of separation, right?
I mean, yes, like definitely. I kind of, I don't want to say despise, but I kind of, this is just not a part of my personality, and this is just not a part of who I am. To kind of share my private life extensively on the internet. I feel like it's weird. To me, it is weird. Um, I'm the type of person who I get more out of a personal one-on-one conversation interaction with the person. And if we were to meet and talk, I'm gonna get way more out of that than out of people liking my shit on the internet, so to
Yeah.
speak. I hate the parasocialness of a lot of the internet stuff going on. Also because my work made me very jaded towards internet relevancy or whatever, because you do get to work with people who maybe are internet relevant for some reason, and then you kind of see what it's really like with these people behind the curtains. Um, and that made me very jaded.
Yeah, it's all just business for them.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, it's kind of sad for me because you see a lot of people have these very vibrant personalities on the internet and have all these parasocial relationships with their fans or audiences. But then you work with them, or you kind of have to talk to them for whatever reason. And they are clearly very insecure people who rely a lot on validation from the internet, and this is something that personally is a big turnoff for me, just personality wise. I don't want to be around people who depend on like internet validation a lot. So that's also kind of what I do, that I'm not really on the internet to be validated. I'm on the internet because I have a business and I want people to see what I do. But then it goes back around to me wondering, am I kind of not being very personable for people? I do wonder that. I mean, I do get told that I have intimidating vibes or something. People say that I kind of look intimidating or something, which that's
a
not
goal though. No, it's a whole ass mood.
I mean, I'm gonna take it, I guess. But I'm not really planning on that. It's more that I just don't feel comfortable building these parasocial relationships with people just so people will give me money. Feels weird. I don't like that. That's why also the way that I kind of follow people or maybe keep tabs on my favorite artists. I don't want to know stuff about them. Rarely ever. I really try not to, because I don't want to be sold to based on some kind of pseudo emotionalism or my personal tie-in to this person that I don't really know. It feels weird. I feel like I'm way too old for this. Maybe I was like this when I was like way younger and I had like a lot of personal investment in something and this like parasocialness was going on. But I don't like it. I don't like it. Also, I'm still, in the VK areas of the internet, and oof, I mean, that like the parasocialness is going on in like fandoms quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that makes me have like feelings about it. So I don't want to do that. It's like, if you think that what I'm doing has value, then I'm very happy with that. But I don't want to pretend to be your friend, because we're not. I do hold my friendship in real life very close to the vest. And I do value people who talk to me personally. I don't really care for the numbers or something. I just don't find validation in that. And I think this is maybe something that I told you at some point, that people think that I get a lot of validation for what I do from the internet, but I don't. And people are super confused by that, because they're like, how is it possible that like you don't know that what you do has value if you have like X, I don't know, 1,000 fucking people following you or something?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything. That it's just numbers, and at some point it becomes a faceless mass of people who just like hit like on your pictures. But what does it really mean? Like, I need complex thoughts. I need complex opinions and complex thoughts about something. These kind of interactions don't really do anything for me. So what was
Emma's Emma's over here hooting and hollering because her job is a social media manager. And so she's like, yes, preach.
fucking rip though, Emma. Like, Jesus Christ. Like,
It's a hard job.
I could not be doing that. I mean, I just. And again, this is like a thing about this job that I had to learn, that I have to be on the internet even though I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do if you have to have some kind of a presence, but you don't really care about having one? That's hard.
Yeah.
That's
There's another creator I know who, like, you know, she has her like brand accounts and then she's got her personal accounts, and she doesn't agree to friend anyone on Facebook on her personal accounts unless she's like sat down and she's had a meal with them. She's like, I'm sorry, I understand that you want to like have like some kind of professional relationship, but you cannot be on my personal Facebook unless I know you as a person or we've had a meal together. You know, like, I think it's a good boundary to have.
If I had a Facebook, that's literally kind of too, but I don't have.
Not having a Facebook is probably so amazing though. An absolute vibe. I wish I could be off Facebook.
I mean, yeah, because again, to me, having Instagram and now having a TikTok, that's like too much.
Mm-hmm.
That's like already a lot of stuff that I have to put up with because internet. And I wish I didn't have to, but that's just a part of my job for now. I really wish that I lived in this like magical utopia where I can get to be my puristic little self that's completely detached from reality, and I could say that if my work is good and if my skill is sufficient, then my work will find an audience. But that's just not how it works. I have to kind of be out there, but also, you know, there's a lot of people who are crazy talented fighting for visibility on the internet, and it's like, I'm not really any better than anyone. If everyone is doing that too, then I have to do that too. I don't like it, but that's just kind of what it is, you know. And I kind of have to decide if I want to kind of get over myself a little bit and try to gain a certain level of visibility that would be good for what I'm doing, because I want people to like see what I'm doing, right? And I met friends via my work, so it's not all bad. Like, it's not all suffering. It's good things too. Good things also happen to me because of my job and my work. So sure, you know, I do believe in general that art is a weird form of extroversion, where like you do something and you put it out there for people to see, and you're hoping that someone somewhere will connect with it or maybe understand it. You're hoping that someone will maybe understand you a little bit via what you're doing. So it's like this weird thing where like you're kind of doing it for yourself, but kind of not really. You also want to share this with people. But you know, it attracts different type of people, and you know, it's not always ideal.
Yeah, this comment says another example of a one-person brand doing a dozen people's jobs. Social media manager is a whole job, which, yeah, like, you know, you can make your creations and you can make your art, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to do a whole nother job if you want to do like the social media aspect and try to market yourself. That's like that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I mean, I am like way, way, way behind with like doing Emma's piece videos. I made like one part because I filmed the entire thing. I actually wanted to film it because I figured that it's gonna be a super interesting process to kind of show people, because it's a thing that I've never done before, and it has this like super cool carve out situation going on, and I thought that it's a nice thing to show people how it's done, because again, I think that unless you have a very particular knowledge and a very particular level of competency in a field, you don't exactly know what goes into making a thing. And I try to show people as well, you know, what's the entire process. And I'm not pulling these prices out of my ass, so to speak. Like 2 weeks of work, and it's 2 weeks of work because of reasons I filmed this entire thing. It was super cool. I was like very happy to film it. But now I have like 2 hours of footage. And it's like my phone and like clogging up the space. I put out like part one. You have to edit everything, whatever, do the voiceover, and I'm just like,
Oh my
geez.
gosh, video editing is like a whole ass thing. I hate doing that.
Well, I added it to like my competency list, I guess, because TikTok, and I had to like learn a whole entire thing, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
why do you do
Yeah.
this?
Emma says, I hope a bunch more people are inspired and ask you for one, but in pink.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a good thing though. I mean, that's a good thing to bring up because I would like to do pink stuff. I have this like weird phase where I have a bunch of ideas for stuff in pink. I'm kind of going for this very kind of rococo, kind of Marie Antoinette kind of stylizing, very a lot of velvet, a lot of pearls, a lot of florals maybe. I have this like, you know, this I have this aesthetic, this idea in my brain that I need to like materialize, but again, I don't have the time, and I really
Yeah.
wish to make more pink items to kind of mesh my aesthetic with the color pink. Oh, here comes the prince. What are you doing?
Oh. Emily is in the chat saying that she would like to support some pink.
Oh, because you know, I did the pink cross situation.
Yeah.
That actually was inspired by Emily's piece, because that one came out so cool. I was so happy.
Yeah, it was so cool.
I was so
really
happy.
Liked the velvet.
I was so happy to do it. Okay, cool. This is just gonna be a hard one, isn't it? No, you. Okay. Okay, cool.
We have a comment who says, "I'm a sweet, but I wish to be spicy."
Well, you can be both. You can be both sweet and spicy.
Sweet and spicy.
With what I'm trying to do, because I think it's important to also try to expand your aesthetics, your field of expertise. Let's call that. Because I only make stuff in like black and red mostly. I'm also trying to like expand to pink because I think.
Oh, and you also did the blue one, like a moitié blue one recently, right? For Josine.
I did.
That one was really cool.
I'm sorry.
Emma says that she wants to pet the dog so bad.
Well,
he's so fluffy.
He's very big. He's a Caucasian shepherd, so he's a big dog, very big. And he sometimes thinks he's made out of glass, in the sense that he's like translucent.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so in your brand description, you have like a little blurb, and it says that your creations are made by tattooed hands, and you also have a lot of different like body modifications. Is there any significance to that personally to you? What kind of part do these things like play in your life?
That's a good question because I did not remember that I put it there. I guess I did at some point. Yeah, I put something like that there. Well, it is pretty significant. Because my tattoos are a part of my personal expression as a person. I mean, these definitely are the most famous, and they're now like making rounds on TikTok, I guess. Which again, I was educated by the children of the internet, telling me that I have sukuna hands, and I was like, "What's a sukuna?"
I saw that. I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, what is that? I have to like go. Apparently, that's like some anime character, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
But you
like,
did it first.
And these are like over 10 years old, so I have them for like a time now. Especially, these are my first tattoos ever.
Oh damn! Okay, finger tattoos right from the start.
Like, I mean, I don't know what was like my gig, thinking that I've never had a tattoo before, and I'm just gonna go get my fingers done. My hand like paralyzed for like 2 weeks. Bad idea. stupid idea. I mean, does it look cool? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But that was a stupid idea. I did not know what I was getting myself into, really. Anyways, yeah, they are a part of my expression as a person, and I do take these things really seriously because I do believe that the way you present yourself is a very unique form of creation. It's very personal and it's very intimate. I really like this scene in The Devil Wears Prada, where you have the scene with Meryl Streep, and then Anne Hathaway comes into the room and it's like in this really ugly sweater, and she's
Yeah.
got these like belt situation that it's like so funny and like trivial stuff because it's like almost the same as belt. It's
Yeah.
not though. Like, there's a difference belt, let me tell you. But it's such a good monologue, seemingly out of nowhere in this movie because
It's
she thinks
iconic.
that her thinking that she just put on this whatever sweater is kind of like an anti-statement that she doesn't care about how she looks. But then but then Meryl Streep roasts her ass like to the ground, and she says, "Well, you making this statement as an anti-statement is literally how you are involved in fashion. You
Yeah.
think you're not like involved here, but you made this choice, and this choice actually was not yours. It was made by you, for you by like thousands of people before you. So it's like even if I own a crusty T-shirt." Because I think that it makes me somehow like more sophisticated because they don't care about fashion. Well, that is a statement in and of itself, right? So
Right.
how we present ourselves to the world is like a first thing that people see about us, and it's the first thing that we can say to other people about ourselves. So I am very protective of like my image, also because I get a lot of shit for it. So it's not like I don't pay the price for like looking like this, and I do
Yeah.
pay the price every day. So they're an important part of my identity. I literally do not remember putting that in the description, but that's true though. You kind of forget about having tattoos if you have them for so long. They just kind of blend in with you at some point. But they are an integral part of me because they're an expression of what I love. They're an expression of all the things that I ingested that made me at some point. So they are very important to me. And I mean, it's a funny thing because you're not supposed to take gigs at like a concert if like Gazette comes or some other VK band comes. You're not supposed to take pictures at the gig, but people did, and you can pinpoint exactly where I am because you can see my hands.
Yeah.
So like that's also like a very identifying factor, I guess. They can see me right away.
Yeah. And so besides your hand tattoos, you've also got, do they go all the way up your arm? I know you're working on like a chest piece.
Yeah, I mean this one goes here. See, I wanted to like have some kind of a fancier outfit today, so I went with some kind of a quasi vampire prince realness situation. But that was kind of I can't like roll my shirt more. I mean, I could if I unbuttoned the buttons, but I'm kind of too lazy for that. Anyway, they do go. What's the okay? They do go up here. On one hand, I have a whole sleeve done actually. Which okay, that's dog here. I'm very sorry. What did you leave? I do have a whole sleeve done. Maybe I should like unbutton it. Because all of the tattoos on this arm are kind of significant tattoos, kind of sort of over. Can I do that? I kind of can do that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I can do that. So it goes actually all the way here, and I do have a whole chest piece, but the chest piece was kind of more of a situation of me having to cover up a tattoo that I didn't entirely think over. And I regretted getting it for like personal reasons. We shall not discuss. It was when I was young and when I was stupid, and I thought that like getting a tattoo is like a romantic thing or something, but it turned out to be dumb. So I'm not like recommending getting tattoos for like romantic reasons.
Absolutely, it's a curse.
It's like a weak 3 out of 10. I would say it's more of a 2 out of 10. Anyways, yeah, all of the tattoos that I have, they, even if they are just done for, let's say, aesthetic reasons, it's still a part of who I am and how I express myself. Because these things, they don't mean anything. They're just like bands. People ask me all the
Mhm.
time, "Oh, what do they mean?" I don't know. I don't know. They
Means I
mean that.
got some dope ass fingers.
I mean, yeah, it's like they mean the fact that I don't know that I like them, that they're pretty cool. That's what they
Yeah,
mean. But I
right.
do have that like mean stuff. I do have here on both hands actually tattooed Memento Mori on one hand, and then a lyric from my favorite song. Which the song is my favorite. The lyrics are kind of like okay-ish. If I could tattoo a song on my body to like make it play, I would. But I can't do that.
Oh,
So
I
I
think you can though. People have been doing the like the sound wave tattoos
yeah.
where like
Mhm.
you can like have it read and then it'll like play a song, but I don't know how it translates over time because if like the line gets thicker, then it might not play the same thing.
Yeah, they do. Ooh. See, that's the like a new like tattoo idea right there or something. Well, that was not a thing that I was thinking of at the time. So I do have a lyric on my hands, uh, which is "Sono kokoro yo hitotsu ni naro," and it's from Dazzling Darkness from Gazette. It's kind of gay though because it literally means let hearts become one. So it is kind of like a romantic tattoo,
Yeah.
but it just the song is beautiful. And if anyone would like to go listen to Dazzling Darkness by Gazette, it's like one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my entire life. So I have this going on because it's just a beautiful song that I would like to have on my body because it's just beautiful. When I think of this, when I listen to this, that's kind of one of these experiences that you have that seem almost like a religious experience, because I really think that creativity is something special that we can connect with other people in such an intimate way, even if we've never met them. Uh, you can tell a very clear, very complex emotion from a piece of art, just because you also are a creative person, and you have this complex consciousness that can like perceive art. Amazing, beautiful. Like I think that this ability to like what's the word? I think this ability of relating to art is magical, is amazing,
Mhm,
and this that's why I just love art above anything else, because I love
mhm.
how we can relate to each other via art, and how rich and powerful art is, and how essentially we portray everything in art. Our entire human experience is somehow uh, downloaded into what we artistically want to express. Um, so yeah, all my tattoos are kind of like tied to that because I have like two Direngray tattoos.
Mhm.
This one Direngray tattoo, it says Japanese Zombie Heroes, which Direngray is my favorite band, and I'm just kind of like a weeb like that. It's like you start being weeb and you just kind of are one forever. It's
Yeah.
the not choose the weeb life chose me, so to speak.
Yeah.
Uh, Here's one. This one is also inspired by Direngray because they have a dozing green single, which
Mhm.
actually has Takato Yamamoto graphic on it. Amazing, exquisite art, and there is this kind of situation with the spine on it, something weird going on. So this is kind of like a dozing green gray situation too. I also have a Gazette tattoo here, which like no one sees because it's like inside of my arm, so it's like a
Mhm.
secret a little bit.
Mhm.
um, it's from when Gazette went by Gazetto, because later they changed to like the Gazette. I think it's more accessible to like the Westerners probably or something.
Mhm.
Than have your band be written in katakana. Um, anyways, yeah,
We have a
this
comment here who says, I love During Brain Takato Yamamoto. We
yeah,
have some
like
BK fans up in the house.
I mean, my computer wallpaper screen situation is a Takato Yamamoto illustration that I've been having for like 10 years now. Uh, and it's like the same screen all the time because it's amazing, beautiful, complex. I love looking at it. So, every time I fire up my computer to like read the emails that I don't want to read, at
My
least
computer background is of Emily dogs because she's beautiful and I love her.
that's,
Also, she's on my phone. Hold on, let me show you.
I love that.
See, look, that's her on my phone.
Oh, that's so cute. Love that. Oh, that's so cute. Love that. Now my dog is like upset because I don't have him on my phone. I mean, I do. I have like my whole ass phone is like filled with like dog pictures.
Yeah, you got folders full of dogs.
Oh, I do. What are you doing? Okay. I don't know. Did I want to say something more? All of my tattoos are something, important, even if they don't have a particular meaning. Because I don't know, like, I don't really subscribe to this idea that a tattoo has to, like, specifically mean something. If I want to they want to decorate my body, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what it's going to mean to me. It's going to mean to me that this is how I chose to decorate my body permanently. And this is something that I decided to put on my body permanently. And that's kind of how I go about it. The Gazette tattoo, though, it's like a nostalgic one, because that's kind of like early Gazette, how they used to spell their name. So it kind of brings me back to these like super, super early days that I kind of remember because I got into listening to Gazette 2005, I think. So that was like super long time. And they were na zdrowie, and they were like a relatively new band. Okay, cool. Let me talk, please. We cannot get this thing done today, can we? Okay, cool. Jesus Christ. He's like never like this though. He's also kind of a dog that like he likes to go and like fuck off and just like for you to not bother him. I don't know what's his deal right now.
It's like you're on camera right now. He's like, excuse me.
Yeah. What are you doing?
We have a question here from other Emily from New York saying, I have a weird tattoo question. Is that answerable by anyone? Please ask your question. I want to know.
Yeah, ask the question because I mean I've been getting tattooed for like 10 years now, so if
I don't have any yet, but I've been wanting several for many years. I wanted my first one to be by a certain artist I met years ago, and I think his style and skill would be perfect, but my best friend against it because my ex used to be tattooed by the artist, which is where I met the artist. So I guess the question would be, is it weird to get tattooed by this artist because your ex is also tattooed by the artist? Which I would say like, no, if you just like the art, it doesn't matter if your ex is involved or not. Right.
I don't think so. I mean, I really stand by my opinion that I don't think that you should be getting tattoos for like romantic reasons because like they turn out or usually.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know that's a good idea to go with. But I don't think that anyone, has like dibs on a certain tattoo style. If you want to go and you want to go to this artist particularly, I say go. Would I care? I don't think I would care. Because again, this is like permanent. Okay, cool. This is like permanent art that you're putting on your body forever, as long as much as we know. So I think you might as well go and get the artist that makes you happy. I'm being pushed out of the frame. I'm sorry.
Yeah, get the best art that like you yourself like the most, right? Like, at the end of the day, it's about you and what you want to do with your own body.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird at all. The bottom line is that you should choose something that will feel, I don't want to say that it will like embody you, but something that fits you as a person. One thing that I would advise though is to like wait with getting tattooed till you're like maybe 25. I started getting tattooed quite early because I just kind of, I don't know, I wanted to, I guess. And I don't regret any of my tattoos, but having the hindsight of just maturing as a person, I think I would plan them out differently maybe. Because when I look back now, I have way different ideas about what I want to get tattooed. On my other hand, that's kind of being reserved for like another sleeve, a new one, versus what I wanted like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I have a totally different concept now. Like all of these tattoos, I probably would have conceptualized them a little bit differently now too. Because back in the day, it was just kind of like, oh, I like this, let's get this. But I was not entirely planning for how is it gonna, what's the plan? If do I want a sleeve? Do I not want a sleeve? How are these tattoos gonna kind of coexist together?
Yeah.
I had like zero. Now I would rather have a plan.
Yeah.
So
she says, this is good to hear. Part of me felt bad for waiting for so long, but now I guess I feel very sure of myself, which, yeah. Another thing about getting tattooed later on versus if you're young is you will have more money for good artists.
Yeah, that is true. And you should get one and see how it turns out, see how your body reacts to getting tattooed and how do you like it. Because tattoos are not the same as drawings on a paper. It's a very particular medium, and I also think that you kind of have to manage your expectations a little bit. Skin moves around, and when I got some tattoos, they look different when they heal.
Yeah.
I do gotta say that like my tattoo artist says that he likes tattooing me because apparently like ink sits good on me, which I guess it's good. Thank you, my tattoo artist. You're not watching, I know, but like thank you.
Send him this video.
I recommend him like to like literally everyone ever because like he's really great at what he does. But even the best tattoo artist, skin is a skin. Skin is an organ, so it kind of is a different thing than having a piece of paper and drawing on it. So manage expectations, I guess.
Oh yeah, and another thing about healed versus fresh tattoos, you should, if your artist that you're looking at has like an Instagram, make sure that you're also seeing pictures of how they heal, because just because something looks good fresh doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look good like a few years down the road, which is kind of my problem with like the micro tat trend. They're like this big.
Yeah. That's the thing that kind of happened with like my tattoos on the wrist. Even though the wrist is a very kind of problematic place to get a tattoo because you're like moving your hand around like this, so the skin is always moving, and it doesn't really provide a good stable healing area. But like the ink spilled a little bit while healing, so it doesn't look as crisp as when it looked super fresh. But that's kind of on me for like picking a stupid place, I guess.
Yeah, but it's kind of also another thing is like having it as a part of your body. It's gonna be kind of organic no matter what, right? It's like not gonna be perfect because it's on your body. It's like gonna age and grow and like kind of like the whole thing.
Yeah, and exposure to sun, all that stuff, because you need to worry about. You need to you need to think about preservation of your tattoos later in life as well, because these are hold on, these are like 9 years old or something.
Those are holding up super well.
Yeah, I think they look pretty fucking exquisite if you ask me, because like
because normally finger tats kind of like some of them fade a little bit.
They do, yeah. That's why I don't have them around here, because my tattoo artist was like, well, you use your hands, and your skin is gonna, what's it called? Peel? That's a bad word. Well, but you know what I mean. You're using your hands, so there's a big chance that they will just like rub off here. So I didn't get them all around, because I was like, whatever. But here they look exactly the same as they did. I got them touched up just one time and never again. Never again. This is just like way too much pain, way too painful. 2 out of 10. We'll never do it again.
We have people in the chat drinking water because they remember that you're supposed to do that. Which also it's good for your skin. If you have tattoos and you drink water consistently, then they will look better. And
Yep.
a comment that says sunscreen, which is yes.
Yep. That is true.
Sunscreen. Yep.
That is true. That's why they look so dark still. I mean, not this
Yeah.
one because it's a light one, but I mean, you know, they do look pretty dark still.
Yeah. Or
So
just
they
don't go outside.
like no one goes outside. I like a long sweater all the time. Particularly because I'm worried about my tattoos. Like even if it's like 30, okay, because like 30 degrees Celsius for me, that's a lot. I'm like European. And I'm in North. Like 25 is like a lot to me already, but then 30 is like super a lot. So I still go outside in like a long sweater because I don't want my tattoos to like look janky. You know?
Okay, I'm going to ask you another question. We've been at this for 2 hours and we still got a few left. So let's go for maybe, let's say we'll stop in like maybe 30 minutes, kind of. Let's see. Regarding the use of religious imagery, such as crosses and that kind of thing in your work, is there any kind of significance there? Is it kind of any kind of statement, or is it just aesthetics?
Ooh, I was like waiting for that one. I was waiting for that one because I guess this is kind of I need to like backtrack a little bit. I was not aware of how these pieces can be misinterpreted or taken outside of, let's say, where I'm from. Because I'm from here, and yes, I did live in America when I was a kid, but I don't know that I had, you know, much cognitive skills to kind of really ingest the cultural reality around me when I was like 5 or 7 or something. So I didn't really know how people could take these pieces and understand them or not understand them. And what do I mean by that? I was raised Catholic because Poland is hardcore Roman Catholic. That's kind of the religion. We technically do have separation of church and state, technically. But I think what a lot of people don't realize is that religiousness is an integral part of the Polish identity, both culturally and historically, in the sense that due to a very complicated political and historical happening situation up in here 1,000 years ago, Poland was Christianized. It was mainly because we were hoping that we would stop getting invaded by a certain particular other tribe, and we were hoping that we would get strong alliances with other Christian countries, which, you know, that kind of went different ways. However, later the reality kind of changed for Poland, and also like that's a separate also topic with how Poland is super high in the north, away from Rome. There's many interesting books that I've read during my time of being a history nerd about how, you know, Poland was Christianized, but because people already had their own spiritual beliefs that were native to this part of land, let's say. All of these kind of Christian influences started to mingle and kind of mix up with the dominant at the time pagan religion of the region. So at some point it came out as like a quasi mix of Christianity and the domestic belief system. So they had to send a bunch of people back from Rome being like, hey, you guys, this is kind of weird, like stop that. Because in Rome they didn't like that, you know, Poland was kind of having like a vibe going on here on its own. But that's kind of a separate topic, but kind of I want to say that because that's a testament to how, you know, in Poland, Roman Catholicism was always very important and always a part of the identity. But there's a particular flair of it here. Then later, the situation changed in Europe. And I know that I'm like nerding out, but like I love history, so people need to like bear with me.
We're here for the history lesson.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm like full of stuff like that, and like if you get me started, I'm gonna let you know keep going. But I feel like it's important to the topic, and you know I kind of, you know, want to say real quick.
Right.
So later, the situation kind of changed where, because Poland was Christianized when Germany was having its Holy Roman Empire phase situation. Like they had that going on, which like if shit always goes down, it's always these guys. Like I say that with peace and love. By the way, my German friends, I love y'all with, but like y'all always historically start shit. Like we just trying to mind our business, and y'all always do something with like the Holy Roman Empire, whatever. Or like Jesus Christ. So that was. But then Poland and Germany got into a conflict over some land, as per usual. And in 1410, we kicked German ass so hard that Prussia became secularized. Well, what a hard word. And secularization. They became an atheistic state, essentially. Wow, big words. Not today, not at this hour. They became secularized. I think that came out okay. So they went through Reformation, actually, which that changed the landscape of Europe culturally wise, and that meant that Poland kind of at some point in history became this like lonely raisin of Roman Catholicism in the middle of the map, because on this side I guess for the people, you had Russia. So Russia, like many Eastern countries, is Eastern Orthodox, like Greek Catholic, which that's also kind of what differentiates Poland and other Eastern countries, that we are an Eastern country, but we're Roman Catholic. That's kind of weird. No one vibes with that. That's kind of the conflict between like Poland and other Eastern countries, that they don't think of Poland as truly Eastern, because Poland is Roman Catholic and we don't use the Cyrillic alphabet, but that's a whole other topic. So you had Russia that was Orthodox, na zdrowie. You had the Turkish Empire that was Islamic, and then you had the Protestant churches gaining momentum where Germany is. So Poland was this like little itty bitty place here where like Roman Catholicism was going strong, and the identity of Poland throughout many centuries was that Poland is like the last bastion of like Christianity, and that Poland is like the Jesus of nations, which that's like a literal term from like historical literature, where Poland was described as like the Christ of the nations or something. The martyrdom was like through the roof, but that's kind of what we did. So this importance of the Roman Catholic identity kind of permeates throughout history as it goes on. Later during the I'm like losing words at this hour because it's just like becoming late, and like English,
yeah, it's super late for you.
a little bit, but I'm gonna like wrap it up super fast. What's the word though? Partition, that's the word. So when Poland was partitioned and disappeared off like the map of Europe for 123 years, an important part of keeping the Polish identity alive was their religiousness, because again, we were partitioned by countries. None of them were Roman Catholic. So when the oppressor, for like the lack of the better word, came, and you had to speak the language of the oppressor, you had to everything was changed in the terms of customs, culture, all that stuff. You also had to abide by the traditions that were kind of put onto you. So preserving Polishness became kind of hip adjacent to preserving Polish religiousness at that point. So and it keeps going, and then you have communism, right? Like communist states are anti-religious by default. So where the opposition was in Poland was mostly in churches, and priests were very highly prosecuted and kind of oppressed, as they were seen as leaders. I mean, I don't want to say leaders of opposition, but like these were places where people would go and gather and kind of maybe hope for a better future.
Like public figures, kind of.
Yes, I mean, in Poland still, in the rural areas of Poland, your priest is still like the most important person in your village. So that's still like a sentiment that we have. So what I meant to say by that was that Roman Catholicism is just a very, very a very important part of the Polish identity by now.
Mhm.
It's literally everywhere in the language, in the anthems, in the patriotic songs. It's everywhere. But also, what does it mean in the sense of culture and art and all that stuff? Well, it means that, when the Protestant churches came about, and that was actually told to me by someone, I did not know that because I don't know, I never knew that. What was told to me was that the particular type of Christianity that was brought over to America was particularly from the Protestant churches, and that's kind of important. I feel, because that means that Protestant churches, they reject religious art entirely as sort of redundant and excessive, and something that they just don't see any value in.
Mhm.
So the Protestant churches were worshiping in a very kind of parking lot looking churches, right? Because again, their philosophy is that religious art is redundant and it's absolutely
Right.
not needed. They don't see value in like religious representation in arts, in beauty. Which What was the response of the Catholic Church? Well, the Catholic Church was like, oh, you guys are doing that, so we're gonna pull out the big guns, right? Like that's how you have Baroque come about in Europe. And the church was like, okay, bigger, better, bigger churches, bigger paintings, gold, more gold, stuff, jewels, art, everything needs to be exquisite, exaggerated, beautiful, like, awe-inspiring in people. But that was a very particular thing that they did because the Catholic Church, was afraid of the Reformation going on in the West, and they wanted people to be attracted to church again with like the arts and the exquisiteness and the beauty and all that stuff. So of course Poland never went through Reformation. We are hardcore Roman Catholic as we were. So all these sentiments of expressing religiousness via beauty and via art permeated here as well. And this is a place where religious imagery is very prevalent. There's a lot of it everywhere, and it's just a part of life that you see a lot of. Even me living in like buttfuck nowhere, my neighbors on my street have like random pictures of like Jesus King in like a gold crown just glued to their windows, and that's just kind of how people. People just have some random pictures and statues and decorations that are like religiously themed. So that was something that I grew up with, and I always deemed a part of my cultural identity. The Roman Catholicism. Of course, I went through a period where I rejected all of it because it was kind of sold to me in a way that led me disappointed as a young person. I think a lot of people from here, or a lot of people in general from like religious households, go through this phase of absolute rejection because this is something that you're being told, and then you grow up and you're like, well, maybe I don't want to be told what to believe. But also I think that people get taught religion in a way that's an overall disappointing because there's very little emphasis on theology and philosophy, and there's more emphasis on using religiousness or spirituality in general as a tool of fear, teaching people fear, smallness, and control. I don't like that, and this is such a big problem that's like a separate whole other discussion that I think the Catholic Church as an institution, spicy opinion coming, or maybe not really, that is like should go away or like be reformed. Something should be done with it, because I don't know that a man-made institution that kind of appropriated certain level of spirituality or like claims to have a domain over human spirituality is good, and uses it for like shitty things like teaching people smallness and teaching people fear and teaching people that you need to be obedient and not think. Bad vibes, I don't like it. So that should be definitely reformed.
And as an institution, it is a little bit corrupt. So with this bad stuff happening within the
I mean, like I said, technically we have separation of church and state in Poland, but like, you know, the ruling party, deep inside the church's pockets, that's a whole thing. There's a lot of shit going on. People are kind of fed up with the Catholic Church up in here. A lot of young people are disconnecting themselves from the church, which I mean, understandably so, honestly. So it's pretty bad up in here, even though Poland is very, very Roman Catholic and it's a part of the identity of being Polish, and you're brought up with this and with the tradition of being Roman Catholic. People kind of hate it. At this point, they're kind of done with the institution, which I can't blame them. Like, I think that, something has to be done with that. But to kind of tie it back to like the question, it does mean something to me because it's a part of my culture. It's a part of my identity. And if people ask me now, am I religious? Well, I kind of like play fast and loose with these terms because I do think that religion is a product of culture. Some people might like, some people might not like that view of religion. I don't know that it's entirely very good to view religion in a very literal sense. I think that kind of obscures you from seeing the value of theology and philosophy in it, because I do think that there's value in theology. If I was not doing this, I probably would be like a theology professor or something. I don't know, like this is something that I always wanted to study, but I didn't study theology because they needed a physics physics entry exam, and I am bad at like physics.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Even though theology, I think I would put it close to philosophy in like the branch of sciences, I guess, because it's like the study of the divine, and there is a lot of philosophical stuff going on up in there. But the university, they wanted a physics entry exam, and I am very bad at equations. I don't know. It's like maybe now like the times have changed. Maybe they don't want like physics anymore. So maybe if I'm ever like financially stable from this job and it doesn't give me like existential anxiety, I can my dreams of being like a theologist of the world. Nonetheless, I guess I would call myself Catholic, I guess, but more in the philosophical sense, I think, because I feel very tied to the theology and the philosophy of these stories. And again, I know someone's gonna come out of the woodwork and be like, "These are not stories. God wrote them." Okay, cool. Listen, listen. I think that's kind of a problem, and I mean, in general, discussing religion is a problem because, religion being a product of culture, it can only be discussed in interpretations, and there's really no way to say that one interpretation is objectively better or more correct than like the other. I can say all I want about like my view on like theology and philosophy of like the Old Testament or something, and someone's gonna come out and say, well, but that's wrong because I think so, and that's it. And like there's no way for me to objectively measurably say, well, no, I'm right. So that's kind of an issue here that we have, I think, with any sort of product of culture. But I think that there's beauty in it, that you can see these things and you can maybe discover a different way to interpret them. Because I don't know that like what people are doing with the most part is good. If it teaches you fear and smallness, it's probably not that good. And I do think that
fear is like a method of controlling people is what it is.
That's why you have this like tinfoil a little bit. I hope that there's like 10 people watching maybe. So like, that's because like more people would be like, I don't know, giving me like anxiety of too much people. But I do have this tinfoil that like religion at the early stages was just kind of like spirituality repackaged with like anecdotal stories that have some kind of like a philosophical twinge to them, because I think that stories is an easier way to like communicate values to people. You can have a story about, let's say, Jesus, who came down as embodied consciousness, and he suffered and died. And what does it say about the human condition? Well, it says that you are a consciousness that's born in a body, and an inherent part of the human experience is suffering. That's like a deep philosophical thing that people were like wondering about forever. Like, why is there consciousness and why do we suffer? Because it really seems like a universal thing about being a human is suffering.
Yeah.
And it's a way to like look at this, for an example. So that is a way to communicate these ideas to people. And so my tinfoil is that I think that someone came in and someone was like, oh, listen, we can take this and we can appropriate this. And instead of teaching people philosophy and teaching people about, I don't know, the divinity of consciousness, because, it's so whack, me and you sitting here. I'm a being that's conscious of itself, and I'm conscious of my being as it's happening to me, of like my life and my existence. But you're also a being that's conscious of yourself that's happening, and you're conscious of me being conscious. So that's like so weird that you live an existence that's observing itself as it's happening. What is it even? I don't know. I think it's super amazing, and I do think there's some kind of divinity in that, because consciousness gives us art and creativity. So there we go. So my tinfoil is that someone looked at that, and someone thought that instead of teaching people this, instead of teaching people divinity of creation, of your power of being a conscious human, we're just gonna take that, package it for the masses, whatever, and we're gonna teach people that they're small, stupid, and just like fearful, and they need to like obey whatever the fuck that is.
And we're gonna kill people.
Yeah.
This comment says religion and culture aren't separate concepts. Christian hegemonic societies are still shaped by Christian philosophy. So an agreement with what you said previously.
That is true. But if you go to different countries, there's different expression of religiousness in these countries. Poland is not the exact same country as Italy is, even though they're both Roman Catholic, and they're both in Europe, and they're both hegemonic societies. We do have different cultures and different expressions of religiousness. I think of it as a monolith of some sorts,
Let's see. We were going to talk a little bit about VK and how your work is influenced by that, or I guess you talked a little bit about artists already, but do you want to go a little bit more about how your work in particular is like reflective of what you know about Visual Kei?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a cool topic. A little bit of like a 180.
Yeah, I know. But that's I was like, I have these written in this order.
Yeah. Well, I told you that if I talk too much, you can't beat me with a stick. Just to like close off the previous topic, I do feel that you kind of have to be from here to kind of get it. So I feel that these cultural discussions are kind of difficult, and they do differ based on people's experiences. And I don't really expect people who are not from here to understand religion and its expression in culture the same way I do, being from here and living here. But that's kind of what makes us us. We have different experiences, and people are shaped by their culture in different ways. So that's what I want to say to close that thing up. But I do hope that people enjoy what I do nonetheless. Kind of incorporating a part of my culture into my work, because it does mean something to me. And I do, I am very tied to creativity and to art. And that's something that I do feel like there's a level of like divinity in there. Because again, it's like I said before, to me, encountering a great piece of art is almost like a religious experience. And it's really wonderful to me that I can see art and I can understand it. Even if it's not literal, you see something and you have feelings about it, and you kind of connect to it level. So that's beautiful and amazing. And like I choose, again, that's kind of what's the word? that's kind of absurdist. That this is what I choose to take away from it. Because I think that there's enough shit in the world and enough shitty things in the world that I don't think that adding to it is a good thing. Maybe we do need some reclaiming of something to make a difference, make it better. Okay, I'm gonna stop because it's if I keep going, I keep going. So VK, okay, VK is like another kind of facet, I guess, of me as a person and what I do as well. Especially that VK is such a beautiful melting pot of everything, essentially.
Yeah.
I feel like people are kind of confused sometimes. What is it? Is it a fashion style? Is it a music style? Like, what is this? And it's a beautiful melting pot of things. Of Visual Kei, how it's named. I wanted to, I was inspired at some point, but like the internet made me mad a little bit. I was inspired at some point to like make a little bit of an introductory videos about VK, because this is something that I love, and I've been in this for a long time now. And I kind of feel like maybe sometimes people are struggling with like getting into it, or struggling with finding their footing. Because to me, an album from 2006 is still like fresh. It's like mad fresh. It's not though. 2006 was a long ago. So I wanted to kind of make something for the people, but I don't know how I feel about that still. It's like I'm pickling this in my brain. Nonetheless, Visual Kei, the way it's named and the kanji that it's used, it's good to explain it in a way that this kanji represents a sort of system that kind of gathers things of the same characteristics. Let's say that. So the characteristic that it kind of combines, the characteristic that's defining it. Language at this our hard thing. So the characteristic that is defining of these things that it combines is the visual aspect of it. So I don't think that it's anything in particular other than a very strong visual element to this music, this phenomena. That's why you have all sorts of VK bands looking all sorts of ways, and it's so different and it's so wonderful. And of course you have subgenres of VK as well, because you do have Oshadake, which like I never really because that's like the more poppy one, right? That's like the more your Alice Nines and your Suga, I guess, which I know that like Takeru of Sug, did they like this brand or something? I don't know. I know he has like a clothing brand or something. I know that's going on, but I don't know anything outside of that. And then you have your Nagoya Kei, which one of my favorite bands, which Disperse Ray, not really technically a Nagoya Kei band. Nagoya Kei is the more darker kind of subgenre of VK. More black eyeliner, more black clothes. The music style also is kind of more heavy, a little bit more leaning into maybe metal, maybe alt rock, more on the darker side. So Disperse Ray, for an example, my favorite band, if they had not disbanded, that makes me super sad up to this day. They were also one of my first bands, because Hida was my first musician in general that I kind of started listening to. And then the band that I got super into that kind of kickstarted this whole thing, because Hida sadly passed, and I had to find out about it later when I was super into the X Japan and the Hida music, and then I found out he passed. So sad. So you kind of find out in the middle of your like super phase that your favorite musician passed. Bummer. But that also means that he's not making any more music, which again very sad. So I got into Disperse Ray, which was a current band at that point, and I just fell in love with them, and they just kickstarted this entire journey of passion and being largely influenced by all these people and all this wonderful melting pot of styles, because again, it's not one style, it's many styles kind of combined. I kind of feel like that has a place in my design aesthetic because I like to take things from many different places, many different aesthetics, and kind of combine them into one thing. That's kind of how I roll, and I do think that I got this thing from VK in particular. That you had the the PVC, you had the tartan, you had the kind of punk inspired looks, you had the metal inspired looks. There was a lot of diversity going on in terms of fashion. It was never just one thing. And you had Mali Smizet with like their eras, right? And so vastly different from each other. So much like repertoire to like choose from, and just great things altogether. Um, I think it's just a beautiful culture. Especially that we don't have a counterculture like this here in Poland. And that's something that I was missing. And I think this is something that helped me find myself because now to me, who I am as a person and my individuality is very important to me. Uh, also, it's not like I'm not getting shit for like me being me because I still live in Poland. So that's kind of like a hard thing. You kind of make these conscious decisions of expressing yourself in a particular way, and people don't like that because we are taught in here that your place among society is the place that people expect of you to like assume, and you're never told to be yourself. You're told, but what are the people gonna think?
Yeah.
The permeating sentiment in my upbringing was, oh, you want to do that? Well, what are the people gonna think? So you're always kind of made hyper aware and hyper conscious of like other people's opinion of you, which it's hard to like develop your own personal sense of self if you're always hyper conscious of like other people's opinions of you. But that helped me to find who I am as a person, and still up today I'm like really invested, wow, accent, really invested in all this stuff. um, it gives me such a sense of proximity to something that I understand, and I guess maybe to a certain extent it gives me a little bit of a sense of belonging, that I understand what it's supposed to be about, and I understand, the struggles of these creative people trying to express themselves creatively in a very traditionalist society as well. Because we know that like Japan is like marketed as like the wee land of the anime and stuff. But it's not exactly peachy. Up in there.
It's not the glorious land that everyone wants to travel to become like the ultimate weeb kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's like, maybe my interest in VK when I was young and stupid, because I mean, what, 13, 14, that's like stupid. Maybe when I was that young, it was like purely superficial and also kind of, maybe, I don't want to say shock based, but it was so new to me because I've never seen a man shirt. I really did not believe this is legal, like at all. What? So maybe it was just based kind of superficial at the beginning, and kind of just me being super interested in this thing that I've never seen before, and like, what is this? I don't have things like that here. But then I started kind of learning about this. I started kind of to learn about these people. And I know that I said it before that I don't want to get personal, but I mean, a little bit I did. Get a little bit.
A little bit as a treat.
A little bit. So it's like, I mean, if I'm going to get invested in something personally, I want to get invested in maybe stuff like that. Like I don't want to develop like a weird relationship because I'm reading an article about like trivia stuff, like what kind of spaghetti someone likes. That's like irrelevant to me. I want to know about what's their work ethic, what's their struggle with like being a creative person, what do they think about their job, how do they feel about being an artist, a musician, how do they think about producing art for people to consume, essentially. And when I started learning about these people and kind of learning about their struggles. It became something that was also very intimate to me at some point. And now I just feel very deeply about all of these artists, even though, I don't know them personally.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's something that I can relate to. And it's just very important to me, even more so, to like preserve this identity that I have. And I do find a lot of that's like maybe the parasocial thing a little bit that I have going on, that I do find a lot of kind of support and still being invested in these artists,
Right.
even if they're long disbanded, they don't exist for like 10 years anymore. But I pop like a Disperse Ray demo tape, and I feel understood for a moment, and that gives me a lot of something that's just deeply important to me personally. I know it was supposed to be about like my work and stuff, but I just kind of like went to into like a deeply personal place.
Yeah. Well, I think, it's casual. We can talk about whatever. We have Camille from Empire Noir saying that Mirror was her favorite song, and also that she misses Disperse Ray so much.
Yeah. I mean, if I can like say something super quick, Disperse Ray would be my absolute favorite band if they did not disband, because I think that their music had just such a particular quality to it. It was both kind of dark and kind of, there was this kind of grittiness. Wow, there we go. I think that very early VK has this kind of a grittiness to it. I don't know how to describe it. It's just this kind of like rawness to it. And Disperse Ray had this particular rawness to the music, that it was kind of unpolished but kind of unique. Also dark and romantic. And I think Hizumi's voice is just amazing. The fact that this guy, he was supposed to be a drummer, but then someone told him, yo, you can actually sing, and he was like, okay, cool. And just like went on being a vocalist, and he is a really good vocalist. He has a very beautiful voice. There's something kind of melancholic about the way he sings and in his voice, and that just makes for an overall beautiful experience. And there's no other music like this, so like I do listen to.
Camille says it's a raw elegance that draws you in deep.
Yes, that is that is true. It's like you gotta hear it to like understand it, but once you do, it just like draws you in, and once it draws you in, you're just hooked, and there's no way out. So ever would like to listen to Disperse Ray, I really recommend the early work, especially because that's where you get the kind of like unpolished good stuff. Now I'm getting a little bit like
let's see. Well, we are at around the 2 hours and 30 minutes point, so we should probably start wrapping things up. Let's do some outro questions, which we're gonna bring things back to, I guess, your brand a little bit. Last thing is, Camille says to listen to their song Kaleidoscope.
Yes. Oh, that's a very good song. It's such a, it has a lot of complex emotion in it, I would say. But also I would say, I know we're like getting to wrapping up and stuff. I know. My personal favorite is like probably the whole ass Colset album. Infection, Exquisite, Haito Ame. That's my first Disperse Ray song. It's like when you play Haito Ame and Hizumi's vocal comes in, you're like hooked. You're just like done. You're just like, okay, this man has like my entire life in his like back pocket. He just thinks beautifully. Like, what can I tell you? Oh, Mary of the Blood, exquisite. Sabaku, exquisite. A lot of things are exquisite. So I recommend in general a lot of Disperse Ray music.
Let's see. And you have been able to travel to Japan exclusively just to like go to lives and that kind of thing, right? In the past?
The sad thing is that I've been to Japan and I was supposed to go back in 2020 and I couldn't. I would say that weirdly in a sense, and I'm gonna make it quick, I promise, because
Mhm.
I did tell you can beat me with a stick if I'm gonna be talking too much. So that's still in place. You can still beat me with a stick. Um, I traveled to Japan, kind of on a YOLO notion in 2019, because that's also when I went to the Gazette tour, and I don't know. It's like one of these moments in life when you're kind of like, I am ready for this experience, and I'm gonna go do this, and it
Mhm.
just kind of happened. So I went to Gazette tour, and they totally out of the ass announced that they will be having a gig, like in a month in
Mhm.
Japan for like fan club only. And I remember just feeling a call that I have to be there. I don't know. It was the universe telling me that I have to go or something. I've never been to
Mhm.
Japan before. I wasn't really planning to go at that point because I mean, you gotta have money, and what am I gonna do with my job? And people are gonna bully me. I mean, my customers that I'm like away and I'm not working.
Oh no,
um,
you're taking a vacation for the first time in your life. Ooh.
yeah, I mean, not gonna lie, like I'm gonna say this real quick, but I did read like some comments. Someone, I don't know, someone commented on YouTube under some video. I don't even know why, but someone was complaining about me being on vacation and they have to like wait for me to get back on vacation. This is like burned to my memory.
On YouTube?
Yeah, like I don't know I don't know what the video was. I think someone mentioned me in the video or something, or like,
Uh-huh.
and people in comments were complaining that, well, I went on a vacation, and it's like,
Oh,
how
well, I
dare you?
guess they never take time off of for jobs ever,
I mean,
right? These are the same people who are working 24/7, no breaks.
I mean, you need something from life. I really figured out myself that if you just keep working and working and working, you're gonna start hating it. And it's just not worth it. And honestly, yes, I've been on tour, and I was kind of like, I've already kind of stretched myself thin with my customers because I've been on tour. But there's this gig, and the point about this gig was that it was specifically going to be a gig that has new songs and very old songs mixed together. So like, me, who's listening to Gazette since like 2005, I was like, oh my god, what if this is like the one and only chance I have to like go and like hear these like old songs
Mhm.
that I remember being like 13 and like jamming up to. So I did go. It was beautiful, exquisite, amazing. It's the most beautiful concert that I've ever been to in my entire life. Amazing. I did hear a lot of the old songs.
Mhm.
They were playing Sugar Pain, for an example, uh, which that was my first cassette song. So I remember in the live, I was jumping when they started playing. And I mean, I was like one of the three white people there, by the way, because this gig was like announced like very shortly. So there was like three gaijins up in that hall, me included, with like me looking weird and stuff, and me being quite tall too, because I'm like 5'8" on a bad day. So
Mhm.
being like quite tall up in the crowd, and me kind of you could tell me apart from like everyone
Yeah.
else
It's
there.
okay though, because it makes you have a good view over like everyone's heads.
That's true. Uh, so I was just like happy, amazingly happy. It was amazing, beautiful, amazing, exquisite. They played Sugar Pain, they played Bean Scene also. Um, Amazing. Everything was amazing and exquisite. I'm kind of like half
Mhm.
of my brain is like back there again, a
Yeah,
little
I
bit.
mean, I hope you get to go again.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is that yeah, I've been to Japan. It was beautiful, amazing. I've seen gigs. I've went to see Gazette mostly. I went to see that gig, and then I went to see the tour final in Yokohama, I think, because the previous one was in Yokosuka. So yeah, I've went to see them, and I was kind of spending my time there, meeting my Japanese friends too, and just kind of roaming around and taking in all this everything. Um, I think that was like the happiest moment of my life, probably. Like, not to be a little bit like gay here. Uh, Like, you know, me in Poland, you know, that's kind of it's all kind of like a summation of stuff. Not only I live far away from everything, I kind of live very separated from everything, from any community, from any people, any sort of sense of being a part of something. So then you go to a place that has all these things that you feel deeply connected with, and you kind of feel like this is a place where you belong, that I don't really like experience a lot of the time. Because I also feel kind of strange among my own people, let's call it that. Um, you know, Poland is a very specific country, and it's a very specific time. It's a very specific time for me being here.
Yeah.
And exactly feel 100% of the time like I belong here, and that kind of is a little bit sad for me, that I have these like permeating feelings of not entirely belonging in the place of my birth, I guess, and kind of always feeling kind of uncomfortable because people don't exactly understand what's your gig. So I do have this burning sense of like being misunderstood a lot of the time. And then you go to a place where you feel like you understand these things, because usually you're so removed from them. Uh, and suddenly you go to a cafe in like buttfuck nowhere, and you pull out your wallet with a guitar keychain, and the old lady behind the counter starts talking to you about how she's also like an ex-Japan fan, and you're like, this. I was like so shook, like literally. Me being in Japan is just like being shook all the time because again, I'm removed from these things. Like people don't know these things. But then I go to buttfuck nowhere cafe in Kamata or like wherever the fuck, and this old lady starts talking to me about how she loves X Japan too, and her sister
That's so
loves
cute.
yeah, or something. Like, you know, for a moment, I was like, but how do you know X Japan though? I like, have to like catch up with like the topic for like you know
Yeah.
3
Did you like
lag.
recalibrate where you were?
Yeah, because I'm just so not used to this, right? Like I'm just very used to people not knowing what I'm into, and people not understanding this stuff. That's a big part of my life at this point. You know, it's, you know, kind of gay a little bit, but I'm very, you know, I'm very tied to these things, and kind of not people not understanding what are you about is kind of exhausting sometimes because you do want to be understood, but then you go to a place where people, it's just a part of, you know, people's experience to know these things, and it's just wild. You meet random people who like know these things, and you can like talk to them, and you can like connect over these things, and it's whack.
Yeah,
it's
it's really good to find like-minded people.
That is true. So that was a beautiful experience. Shout out to the lady from the cafe.
We're thinking of you.
I wish I knew her name, but I never asked because I was a dumbass. Like I was like so like struck by the sole fact that she started like talking to me about like X Japan that I totally forgot to like ask what's her name or whatever. I was just like shocked and being a dumbass. But yeah, that's what I was doing, and I was supposed to come back in 2020 for a Gazette anniversary gig, and I never did. It got canceled.
We didn't go anywhere in 2020.
Yeah, and that made me very sad. And I kind of feel like that began like a spiraling situation of like me wondering, do I even like this job? Like, why am I even doing this job? So, you know, it was hard. It was difficult. Not recommending.
So let's do some ending questions, which is if you had advice for someone who was going to become an indie designer, or if they wanted to start a business, what would you tell them?
Just one advice.
Well, you know, advice that you would give.
Ooh, I mean, I guess my biggest problem with this whole industry, let's call it, is that I'm not exactly sure that monetizing your creativity is always 100% the way to go. Being an artist, sure, that's like a cool thing altogether. You get to be creative, and I mean, I value creativity above like everything else because I just love creative people and I love creation in and of itself in general. But having to monetize it, that's a lot of adjustments you have to make. because it starts being a business. It's no longer a hobby, it's a business. So the advice that I would give to people is, first of all, you need to really make a decision and really think very, very deeply if you want to sacrifice your hobby for turning it into a job. Because what I do right now, it's not a hobby anymore. It's a job.
Yeah.
And like I maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time with doing new items again, kind of for just the pleasure of it, because to me it's always a job. This is an item that I will probably have to sell. It's probably something that I will have to think about in regards to like sales. Is it gonna be an item that I can sell? You have to think about the market. So again, business classes, take those. That's gonna help you. But again, they will tell you that you have to think about the market. You have to think about a niche. What do you want to do? Does the world need more of what you are doing? And if you think yes, what's the advantages of you doing this? Like, how are you any more special? Why do you think people should pay you money for this? And that's kind of soul crushing, because you need to start thinking about your creativity in a sense of it being a product to sell. I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that. So if I could give an advice, it would be think about that really deeply, because if you do have a stable day job and it's giving you financial stability and you don't hate it, then maybe that's a good thing to keep doing your day job and be a super creative artist of the universe on a side gig, because then it's yours. No one can take that away from you. No one can tell you what to do. No one can tell you that they don't like it. I mean, yeah, they can, but it's yours and you decide, it's your bottom line.
Yeah.
I need to think about my customers. Like, yes, I do kind of what I want to do. It's kind of like a 60-40, kind of we meet in the middle, kind of a little bit. It's a little bit of what I want to do and a little bit of what people want me to do. So we meet in the middle. But I do have to think about it first. Is this an item that I can sell? How much can I make of it? Is this a design that's good to be replicated, to make sales out of it? And that's something that's in the front of my mind. And I hate that.
Yeah. That's really good advice.
I hope so, because again, I didn't know it's gonna be like this, and then it was like this, and then I started to think, do I hate this? Do I want to do this? Because it kills your spirit a little bit. It's very hard. So if I could recommend something, it would be definitely to maybe want to preserve your hobby as a hobby, because it's not a hobby anymore; it's a job now.
Yeah,
which is sad.
Okay, last question is, do you have any upcoming projects or collections coming up, or what are your general plans for the future? What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to being financially stable. That's what I'm like looking forward to. I mean, no, really though. That's also kind of like a whole other thing that you need to kind of learn how to do your job so it's good for you as well, without this like added guilt of people telling you that you should love your job because it's a creative job and you get to do whatever you want, which, like, bro, listen, no, I don't get to do whatever I want. That's just not my life. But there is a little bit of guilt in feeling like you should just enjoy it for the sake of it. But it's like, no one is gonna tell you this about any other job. Just because this is a creative job, I don't believe that you should be like guilted into thinking that you should be grateful for like doing this. It's a job, it's hard work. For me, it's manual labor, and it's really hard manual labor because I do use tools that are kind of carpentry level situation. That's why I compare what I do more to carpentry than to leather work, because leather is way softer and what I work with is hard as hell. That's why I have all these calluses on my hands, and it just gives me a lot of contusions and stuff. So it's hard manual labor. Sometimes I enjoy it, but most of the time it's a job. So and you just kind of have to do it to pay your bills. Finding the balance is hard, so I'm working on that. I will continue to work on that. I am working towards being financially stable finally too, without this like added guilt of like you should do it for the art. Like, art doesn't pay my bills. I want to do that. And now that I feel when I went through this period of having to make these decisions about my job and what do I feel about it and how do I want to keep doing it. I'm hoping that it's gonna get better because again, you kind of learn as you go, and I feel like I've already kind of been through the worst part of it where you have this like absolute crisis of everything,
Mhm.
and you feel like whatever you do, it doesn't matter, and it's just all pain and suffering and there's like no happiness in this left for you because you kind of worked yourself into this like pit of darkness and there's nothing else in it. You're just alone all the time, busy. You neglect your friends, you neglect your relationships, you neglect yourself and your physical health too.
Yeah.
Been through that. I don't recommend bad but again, it's something that you kind of go through. So I'm kind of trying to be good to myself. I'm
Mhm.
trying to stay healthy as well because I'm not getting any younger. 30 is soon, and I'm kind of concerned with my health as well, to not like fuck up my back and just my joints and my hands. So I do hope to keep working on this work-life balance. I do hope to maybe get to a level of like financial stability and in general some sort of stability because it's been just
Mhm.
hectic and I just cannot seem to like be. I don't know. I just can't like control everything right now. Maybe I can actually do like an actual collection of beginning to end with a theme and many items and a story and just kind of immerse everyone in this like reality that I'm having in my brain. um, I do hope to expand to other products as well because again the fact that I do mostly accessories and chokers at this point is also dictated by the fact that this is what earns me money.
Yeah.
That's not very glamorous and not very like artsy thing to say, but that's kind of what sells and that's what earns me money and that's what people want to pay for.
Mhm.
So I would like to branch to other items as well. I would like to try new things as well. I would like
Yeah.
to feel comfortable enough with everything going on to do all the items that I want to do all the pink that I want to do, and kind of, I am working on continuously finding fulfillment and happiness in like the process of creation because that kind of got lost along the way too. I was just like fuck this job and fuck everything about it because I just get like no pleasure from it anymore. So I'm working back slowly from that. I do hope that I can get involved in things more. Maybe I'm gonna like elbow my way in somehow, I don't know. I do hope that it's just gonna get better from here, and I do hope to, bring some kind of a value to people, maybe even in a small way. But I think that that's still good and that's still valuable.
Yeah. I mean, I think anything that, people do that's creative, that's putting it out into the world, like you're changing the world in that sense, right? You're putting things that you made out into it.
I mean, I'm definitely hoping that it gives people at least this little bit of something that they would like to express themselves with, and maybe maybe for even an hour a day they will go out
Mhm.
and they will feel beautiful and they will feel like they are the person they want to be, and I think that
Yeah.
that's important. So that's what I'm hoping to do.
Okay, so that is all of our questions. I'm not sure if anyone in the audience has any questions that they want to ask, but we are going to wrap up.
Yeah.
But thank you
I,
so
I
much.
I was trying to like not engines and stuff. I was really trying.
Um, Emma says, I love you. That's my question.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel very happy to honestly to just be involved and be considered. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but you really don't get that much validation from people because people don't really talk to you. People just kind of give you money and they're like, "Okay, cool, I like this." Okay. But what brings you value, at least to me, is these interpersonal relationships that you have with people and these conversations you have with people, and maybe
Mhm.
piece of beauty that you offer to someone is, something that can be valued as well. So I'm just happy to have that, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I definitely think that
Question?
like you putting out
Yeah.
stuff in the world. I mean, even if it's like a few people that approach you that, tell you that they like think it feels or appreciate it, feels like you know, you have that.
It definitely it definitely does. Just real quick, if you ever sent me a message on Patreon or something, I read it and I remember it.
Mhm.
It means something to me. It means something that someone took a moment out of their day to like write me a message about whatever they feel about what I'm doing, and I remember it, and I feel that it's valuable, and I thank everyone whoever said anything to me about any aspect of what I do. I think
Mhm.
it's valuable.
Oh, do you have a Patreon? Should we plug that?
I closed it down for the time being just because it's a
Mhm.
hectic ass time, and I just don't have the time to like make content right now. Which my
Mhm.
Patreon was a really cool place to be, I think, because I would always, I mean, I talk a lot, so you can only imagine like how long my posts were. So I would always try to like make really good posts for people, but I don't have time for that right now. It's a hectic ass fucking month, 4 months to anticipate Christmas, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like the most hated time period in like any like e-commerce situation. So I do hope to be back on Patreon though,
Mhm.
because that was a small little community that I really loved, and I could get these like one-on-one interactions with people too, right? That was amazing. I loved that, but I just don't want to be charging people coin for me not really providing them with value. So for now, it's put on pause
Mhm.
for later.
Yeah. But
It's gonna come
everyone,
back.
if you want to keep an eye out, maybe it will come back and you can join his Patreon.
Yeah.
We have some comments here saying I enjoyed listening to this while I'm sewing.
Thank you.
I, for one, really enjoyed and appreciate this interview.
Thank you.
And Camille says, I will happily talk to you and bring to my friend's cave. So yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm really hoping that people did have a good time, even though we did keep people for 3 hours, and it got like progressively harder because it's like late for me. Like
And what time is it for you now?
it's literally 3 minutes past midnight.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we brought in a new day for you.
I mean, it's kind of my fault for like talking so much, but I mean, because I'm kind of a person who's not entirely very social and very kind of on the internet. If I do go places or I do appear places, I would like for people to have a chance of like at least get a little bit of what I'm about.
Mhm.
So I hope that I was able to like provide that today.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I had a great time interviewing you. Thank you so much for answering all of my questions
Well,
and
thank you
talking
for dealing
about
with.
your process. Okay. We're probably gonna, I guess, sign off now, but thank you to everyone in the audience for listening along and asking questions and participating in a lot of that stuff. Yeah. Be sure to follow Narcyz on Instagram on both his personal accounts and also his business account, Raspberry Mazohyst.
Yeah.
And you are also participating in Grammarly, which is happening on October 8th through 10th. And so we'll be able to see some of like the new things that you're coming out at that time as well.
Yeah, we've been tirelessly working to like get that sorted out as well. Me mailing Haley at like 3 in the morning and all that stuff. So I'm really trying to put out good stuff for you guys on October 8th. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. I guess we'll go now. Thank you,
Well, I
everybody,
mean,
and thank you, Narcyz.
that's great. Thank you so much. Again, thanks again. Thanks a lot. I had a great time. I did talk a lot. I spent. And thank you for dealing with me yet again.
Yeah, I always love talking to you.
Oh, thank you. I love talking to you too.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.